Right, hey guys, how are we doing? So, Totally Mark's gone and released his final part of the Dragon Ball Z review, second part of the Buu Saga. Dead excited to check this out. Team 4 Star did some really awesome Buu bits, they were called. Dragon Ball Z abridged stuff that could have possibly happened in the series if it continued. And they've got more in this one, so we'll see them as the review goes out. I like that they fit in with the parts of the review as well. Well, that's what happened in the first part, so I'm guessing it's going to do the same again. Mark will talk about a bit, and then it'll be like, boom, the Dragon Ball Z abridged sketch to tie us in with some hilarity. But yeah, let's. I thought instead of wearing the Buu t-shirt again, I would wear Goku with a halo eating noodles because he's technically dead in this. So yeah, let's do it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the last part's material because there's a whole bunch more where that came from here.
Awesome. They're so well edited as well. They're absolutely boss.
Today, as this is the finale to a video series my team and I have been working on for many months and has been the most labor-intensive and largest scale endeavor we've ever worked on collectively.
And you can tell the amount of work that's gone into these.
But it has been so worth it. Getting the opportunity to share with you all why this series has been so important to us has been gratifying to say the least, but we can't celebrate just yet because
we're not quite there yet.
Still gotta save the world from Majin Buu and
hell yeah, we do.
What concluded the final mainline original arc penned and illustrated by Akira Toriyama. Does he stick the landing? Does it have its issues? Only one way to find.
Oh god, yeah, this saga's got some issues.
Find out for sure. So
still good.
Let's dive into Akira Toriyama's Majin Buu arc and the finale to the
couldn't do it without throwing that in, could he?
This incredible story.
Let's go. There's a lot of cool moments in this though, isn't there? So yeah, we've got Super Saiyan 3, we've got Gotenks with the fusion, we've got Super Gohan with the training. Oh mate, there's loads in this. Evil Buu. Second Fourth Buu, Kid Buu, Buu absorbing. Oh mate, there's so much cool stuff that happens in this. I think this saga brings up more debates in power scaling than any other really as well, doesn't it? Let's get it! Oh yeah, and then Oob at the end as well. Wow, yeah, whoa, this got a lot. Yo!
To be honest, when we first began penning this final arc's analysis, the plan was to do it as simply one video.
Yeah?
Despite the anime's version of events taking up a huge chunk of the series, the manga's volume length isn't at all that different from the previous arcs.
Oh.
And yet, with such a shakeup to the formula, and almost reset of the story, it became clear that doing justice to this compelling character arc found in the first part of the story wouldn't have been possible in one video. And that character arc culminated in the stunning conclusion to Vegeta's character arc itself, and
such an epic moment, man. Whoa.
It's here the plot almost begins again anew.
I suppose it is kind of a reset in it, and then it starts again. So like, Buu's not been in it at all, and then Buu's here. It's like, right, so now what's happening?
And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
In the same fashion that the Saiyan saga transitioned naturally into the Frieza material, so too does Vegeta's sacrifice flow into this with a natural cause and effect. And all because this story we're about to embark upon had seeds planted for it in the first half. You see, following the aftermath of Vegeta's final atonement, we are very much in the new phase of this overall arc. Where the previous material focused largely on the dichotomy between generations old and new, what follows is the natural conclusion to that. A focus on the final passing of the torch and the sequence of consequences that come of the prior generation's actions. At this point, it almost feels as though Toriyama felt satisfied with his conclusion of Vegeta's story and, by extension, Goku's in the Cell arc. So going forward into this
Give the new generation a go.
Material, we begin to feel a distinct change. One in which all characters involved in this younger generation are given their time to find their place in the world.
Definitely, yeah.
Discover themselves and see where it all takes them. And when I say all characters, I do mean all. An interesting wrinkle in this arc's formula is that the villain himself, Majin Buu, is also cast in that same lot. While Trunks, Goten, and even Gohan are obviously given time in the coming material to find their footing and place in the story, so too does Buu participate in this series of self-discoveries.
Yeah, like you got the evil side that comes out, the struggle, making friends with Mr. Satan. I call him Mr. Satan, and the little doggy and that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, with Majin Buu left in ruin following Vegeta's final explosion, we pick up the story exactly where we left off, with Goten and Trunks, the only remaining Saiyans left to fight.
My God.
So, you're new.
Okay, cool. Let's go. Oh, okay. I feel like. Right, wait for it.
I'm God. You can call me Dende.
Oh no, talking to Fidel. There's gonna be some jealousy here.
KD, if you're feeling spicy, welcome to Mikasa.
Oh, I'm Fidel, daughter of Mr. Satan.
Yep.
The devil in God's house. Gotta love it.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah. Okay, love that.
Yeah, I'm actually a friend of Gohan.
Oh, you're Gohan's friend.
Yeah, here we go. He's got such a crush on Gohan, man. And now he's just gonna be like, no.
A friend who just happens to be a girl.
Here we go.
A girlfriend, if you would. With your nice, long, human legs.
Oh, yeah.
And, normal colored skin.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say normal. That's got a lot of uncomfortable implications.
It does.
Yo,
It
speaking
does.
of, have you met Mr. Popo? Hi.
Oh my god, are you allowed?
Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it.
Goten and Trunks.
And it's genius because it fits in with the stuff, but it's also very much. I love how they've kept the characters exactly the same as they would have been if it was Dragon Ball Z Abridged continued. Dead Day would be dead jealous of this.
Reduced to stone, the facade of the once living
Excuse
Saiyan
me.
prince crashes to the ground below, shattered into a million pieces.
No.
All the while, the shredded fragments of Majin Buu start to rejoin and regenerate. Many could look pessimistically at this sacrifice as one that was made in vain, and I suppose in many ways it is.
Kind of.
And it's a fitting one whose routinely selfish actions had dire consequences. However, I never saw it as simply Toriyama giving Vegeta his comeuppance. The fact that Vegeta was willing to do something like that for the people he loves is a reward in and of itself on a character level. Even if it ultimately achieved no material benefit in the real world, he is punished in body but healed in mind. And in seeing this,
soul
Piccolo
is
formulates a
cleansed.
desperate plan of action, understanding the current circumstances to be that of Goku missing in action at best, all the while Vegeta and Gohan are, in his mind, confirmed to be dead.
What's with the snail? Yeah, I'm glad he zoomed in on that. It's just that weirded me out last time. I was like, what is that
The
about?
fate of the world and the entire universe now rests squarely on the small but promising shoulders of two boys under the age of 10 who
My
have
God, that's a
shattered
lot of pressure.
expectations time and time again. And meanwhile, Babidi and Majin Buu fly off together to cause yet more trouble on planet Earth.
Come on, Goku, you got it. Yay! We got the yeah. I knew I chose the right t-shirt for this.
ピッコロとクリリンは生きてる。石から元に戻れたんだな。二人なら何がどうなってるか知ってるかもしれねえぞ。
And concerning the current Goten and Trunks story, this narrative wrinkle, this choice to place Goku not at the forefront of the story in a traditional sense is enthralling to say the least. Goku, the last bastion of considerable strength to stand against Majin Buu, is in the process of once again vanishing from this realm in a matter of hours.
Yeah, he doesn't have long left, does he? So it's like, oh no, what's he gonna do? He's gotta leave behind, like, gotta make sure everyone's like ready to fight. Oh, and it's yeah, it was really good. I remember watching this be like, oh, then Gohan goes off, does his training. Goten and Trunks are training to do the fusion stuff. And the way they went Super Saiyan 3 straight away, I was like, whoa! And it didn't come out of nowhere because we saw Goku go Super Saiyan 3 before it disappear. Oh, mate, yeah, let's go.
It's enormously compelling stuff with significant tension. And in my view, nothing better captures the themes of passing the torch in this arc than this training sequence right here. Shifting back into the mentor role, Goku claims that he's just as strong as Vegeta and cannot beat Buu, but that the boys can. With a technique he learned, a technique he doesn't have a partner to perform it with, but the boys do. The fusion dance.
Hell
A
yeah.
coordinated movement between two equal-sized individuals with similar strength that when performed correctly can enable the movers to unite into one being for 30 minutes, magnifying their strength considerably.
Hell yeah.
At this stage in the story, the idea of taking two established characters and effectively bashing them together, making a brand new one, might seem overly trite or
Oh, are we gonna get a bridge Vegito in this? I never thought about that. Okay, well, that's something to. I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they do.
Perhaps a step too far conceptually. However, much like any ambitious decision made in this series, I think what matters the most when designing a technique isn't so much its ability to avoid jumping a shark, so to speak, but instead how well it complements the themes and narrative it's housed within. And metaphorically, I think this is a brilliant technique for this arc specifically. Where the Saiyan Saga played host to the debut of the Genki Dama, a technique that acted as the living embodiment of teamwork and camaraderie,
Hell yeah, it was so
the
sick.
very themes of that story, so too does the fusion dance offer a similar resonance to this one, a technique passed down to the next generation, a generation born from the very characters whose selfish actions doomed them in the first place. Together, they now have to combine and coordinate their forces like the prior generation couldn't to create a counter-offensive far greater than the sum of its parts, far greater than their parents. It's a phenomenally appropriate and poignant thematic move, and a fantastic addition to this series. And additionally, a brief ray of hope that shines upon our heroes as the diabolical Babidi makes a violent threat to the entire world. If Trunks and Goten don't come out of hiding and face them, they will blow up the Earth in 5 days.
No pressure or anything, guys, but that's it's a lot to deal with.
And with that threat issued, a time limit has been placed. Goku will be long returned to other worlds.
That's always the way in it. It's like, give them a time limit, boom. Like, I just finished Black Clover and that whole 6-month thing with training and everything. Blah, blah, blah. I got 2 days to do this. So cool. Can't believe Black Clover ended the way it did. I need to watch the movie on Netflix. Does the movie actually continue from the story? Anyway.
In that time frame, and no one else is alive on Earth that can make a difference. It'll just be the boys under Piccolo's tutelage.
Oh, no. Oh, bless. Oh.
This is an emotionally powerful scene. Two
I
children,
mean, they're kids, aren't they? So, yeah.
at the end of the day, have a frankly unfair amount of pressure placed on their shoulders to achieve what
Oh, yeah.
neither of their idols were able to achieve. Defeat the seemingly undefeatable Majin Buu and save the world. And this feels all the more incredible of an ask when we recall just how awe-inspired these kids have been when looking at what Gohan was capable of and what Vegeta was capable of.
Yeah, they looked up to them. They're like, oh my god, they're incredible. And then it's like, oh, they're gone now.
Where Goku, Vegeta, and even Gohan, who at the time could rely on Piccolo massively, were afforded slow build-ups to what was ultimately expected of them, Trunks and Goten literally need to go from zero to hero in a matter of days. However, while they are the ones tasked with making the counteroffensive against Buu, they aren't entirely alone either. Armed with the guidance of the single most accomplished and impressive fighter to ever come into existence,
yes.
possibly, Son Goku. And while his time spent training the boys is fleeting, it is perhaps one of my favorite incarnations of Goku's character in this series. He's appropriately serious, but with a measured air of kindness and duty behind him. But the most fascinating part of it all is, while the likes of Piccolo, Gohan, and Vegeta understand who Goku is, what he's done, what he knows, what he stands for, and what he's capable of, neither Trunks or even his own son Goten understands or respects him by default.
Yeah, they don't. They don't have a clue. He's been gone the whole time.
They even snap at him, laying the blame on him for allowing their heroes to die, verbally lashing out, claiming that he's supposed to be some sort of big shot, and he let them all down.
Oh, damn.
And what makes this scene all the more powerful is, while these are indeed childish outbursts that signal the fear and despair they must be feeling at this time, for the most part, Goten and Trunks aren't wrong. Goku did let them down, more than they even know. It's such a raw scene, and when a scene has a heightened tension or raw emotion on display like this, it offers up the chance for characters to demonstrate who they are in a powerful way. For when pressure is applied to a character, that's when we find out who they are in a story. And how does Goku demonstrate who he truly is? By not correcting them. By not accepting Piccolo's help when talking to them.
Yeah, Piccolo sticks his up for him and he's like, nah, it's okay. I did let them down. Wow.
Goku doesn't care for, nor does he want their respect. And he's their only option because he's the only one who didn't make the same mistakes their idols, Gohan and Vegeta, made in many respects. But he would never say that. He has no ego about it.
I love how in that picture the snail had moved away.
this. He just wants to get the boys ready as best he can because he cares about them and the world that's on the line. And as best he can, in the same way he tried to guide Vegeta's mindset, Goku tries to channel this negative energy the boys exhibit into positive, measurable action. And following another interjection from the deranged Babidi and the monstrous Majin Buu, Goku has but one thing to ask them.
ちゃんと修行するな、フュージョン。
Let's go, let's get it, fusion, Gotenks, wah.
This scene, from start to finish, is some of the strongest character writing in the arc and an outstanding example of Toriyama's continued unwavering understanding of the Goku character. One that begins with the boys unimpressed, but when all is said and done, they will know the true scope of character that stands before them. They won't need Piccolo or even Goku to tell them who he is. They will see it for themselves through Goku's own actions. Starting with their first demonstration of their abilities from the beginning of this arc, Vegeta, Gohan, as well as many other individuals have been amazed time and again by the scope and ability of these two young Saiyans.
Yeah, they're very impressed, aren't they? It's like, wow, and the fact that they can go Super Saiyan, it's like when Vegeta sees Trunks go Super Saiyan, he's like, what?
Much the same way Goku grew up impressing countless characters with his prowess, so too have these two young children demonstrated a similar pattern of behavior.
Thing is, they needed to, though, the whole power creep thing. Like, if you bring a younger generation in, they need to be able to do something at least, otherwise what's the point in a shonen show? You know what I mean?
And upon request to power up to maximum, we're given every reason to believe the same will be true for this scene, but Goku isn't anybody. He simply says, quote, "Is that it?" There and then acting as the subversion to this established trend of behavior, and additionally a further reminder of just how much farther these two boys need to go in order to even get onto Goku's level. Now that's what I call being concise and efficient with your dialogue, which is important as right after this interaction, Babidi chimes in once more, this time informing them that Capsule Corp will be their next target in the hopes of flushing out Trunks and perhaps others hiding there. At this stage, we're already after begrudgingly accepting that the Dragon Balls will be relied upon to bring their loved ones back to life, like their grandparents, and presently Bulma and the gang are already at the lookout. But what they can't get back is the Dragon Radar. And suddenly, what was an uncomfortable situation to have to contend with has become a tense and time-sensitive emergency. One that places a tremendous amount of emphasis on Trunks to covertly infiltrate his own home unseen, now tasked with retrieving the radar, all the while Goku uses everything he has left.
Oh, mate, yeah. I'm going to be a distraction. With Super Saiyan 3!
To stall against Majin Buu.
You're going to love
Oh,
this.
sick.
Trust me.
Super Saiyan 3. As a scene that takes place within the context of this training
Oh, I was going to show the whole, like, dub thing. Oh, I loved it. Everyone says Super Saiyan 3 is such an iconic moment, and it is. It's not more iconic than the original Super Saiyan transformation, but still pretty freaking chaos.
sequence, thematically, it's a strong and necessary inclusion in many respects. The story that's being told between these three characters is that of two talented but unfocused and inexperienced children learning from an older, more experienced master. And due to their lack of experience both in general and with the hero in question, initially they can't fully appreciate the master that stands before them. Despite the legend and prestige behind the name Goku that even we are aware of,
Oh, yeah.
Trunks and Goten have felt let down and resentful of him for not fixing these circumstances himself, to the point that they question his ability and overinflate their
Let's freak him out, Goten. Yeah, they're both joking about it. Damn.
own. I liked this approach because it places the audience in a rather strange position. In Star Wars, when it came time for Luke to train with Yoda, he does so as our own point of view character. In other words, once we meet Yoda, we know about as much information concerning him as Luke does.
Yeah.
And when Yoda busts out what makes him special later, like Luke, we are impressed and shocked. However, with this initial training before Goku reveals Super Saiyan 3,
We know.
the dynamic is very much the opposite for us as viewers. We know less about Goten and Trunks and far more
Yeah.
about Goku's
Yeah.
exploits. We can understand how angry they are, but we can also appreciate the depth of their ignorance. And that dynamic continues until we reach the scene in question, a scene Toriyama sees fit to prime us for specifically. For instance, the moment Goku suggests he's going to stall the monster, Trunks asks, are you sure? I mean, can you? Won't they just flatten you instantly? To which Goku calmly responds, I'll manage, leaving Trunks to run off uncertain.
I'll manage, man. It's not like I'm gonna beat him. I'll manage.
よ
Quite brilliantly,
Yo.
3 things are achieved in the scene that follows. Number 1. Talking with Babidi and Buu, initially Goku flexes his subtle understanding of social dynamics.
Yep, he does. With this, he manipulates Buu. Like, Buu would not kill Babidi if this interaction with Goku and what Goku says didn't happen.
Planting the seeds in Buu's mind that will ultimately flourish into Babidi's downfall.
Yeah.
Number 2. As Goku begins to cycle through his various forms, Goten and Trunks are forced to fully appreciate and comprehend the scope of their own misunderstandings. As Goku turns Super Saiyan, Trunks even remarks that he's as strong as his own idol, his father. And then, of course, he goes one step further beyond even that.
Yes.
Once he does, they understand that Goku is as much of a legend as they've heard of, and then some. He's exceeded
They're like,
their expectations.
there's the
And
deal.
finally, number 3, and this is my favorite and I think the most sophisticated part of this narrative development. This is an aspect of Goku's character that we at home too are totally unaware of. By revealing this technique, Super Saiyan 3, to us as an audience, we switch from being onlookers who understand more about Goku than the 2 boys, and for a brief moment in time, are just as shocked and surprised
As everyone
they
else.
are.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful shared experience
Whoa.
made to connect us with these 2 young characters.
And this is to go
Even further beyond. Hell yeah. Yo. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, so sick. Oh, I wish I put I've got Goku as Super Saiyan 3 Funko Pop t-shirt as well somewhere. Ah.
I think many might come away from this transformation with the impression that it's a bit of a letdown. And if we look at it through the lens of this
What?
scene
No
needing
way.
to live up to the same
It's so
fanfare
sick.
and impact the prior 2 transformations
It really does stand out. Like, it doesn't look like anything else.
offered, I think it's undeniable and understandable that folks feel somewhat let down by this moment. However, it's my view that Super Saiyan 3, at least at this point in the story, wasn't meant to be some magnificent reveal to rival either of the prior forms on an emotional, narrative, or even mechanical level, but instead was revealed to establish a connection between the 2 boys and us at home. As they prepared to take this metaphorical torch from who they can now see was in fact all along the strongest under the heavens. A man who was strong enough not to brag, show off, or show insecurity. A man who wants the very best for them and expects the best from them.
From them, yeah.
And I think when observed through the context of what's just happened, this is a great scene. However, regrettably, much like many other scenes in this arc, the contents of this moment will be hurt retroactively by creative choices that take place later. But in the interest of structure, I'll save those talking points for when those moments themselves arrive.
Okay, cool. It would be interesting to know. Like, alright. Okay. Oh, we get in.
First off,
Yes! Okay,
we
cool.
got good old Super Saiyan. Everyone knows this one.
Wait, you seriously just put super at the beginning of it?
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes.
That's kind of lazy if you ask me.
And this
Oh, okay, yeah, just cut me off.
is a Super
I was just coming off there, amazing.
Duper Saiyan.
A super duper Saiyan, yeah.
You don't look... I mean, is there a difference? I literally
The
cannot
spark,
tell.
the lightning.
Little zappy zaps.
The sappy zaps, there you go.
See?
Hey!
And this is to go.
Go even further beyond. Nice, cool. Hey! I love it. Masako X got to do the actual line as well. This is sick. To hear him power up, scream. They're all getting their moments, man. They're all getting it in this. This is sick.
Oh no, go ahead, Goku. Waste the last of the time you had there. Whipping out your dick!
It's true. Oh my god.
Do you hear that?
I feel that.
I taste that.
Oh, yeah.
What's that smell?
What's that spell? Jesus. It's that potent. I love this transformation. It's so cool. It's so sick. Hell yes. Hell yes. It's so cool! How can you not like it? Ah, it's boss.
This is a Super D Super Saiyan.
Alright.
I'm just going to call those Super Saiyan 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, that's boring.
Oh, very bored. We fight now?
Sure.
It's been
Woohoo.
said both by Toriyama's critics and
Awesome.
Toriyama himself that he struggles to write relationships, love and romance. And while I absolutely agree with this assessment of him, I did notice something on this read-through that didn't catch my eye on prior reviews of the material. It's small, so don't expect the world here, but I did think it was kinda sweet.
Okay.
Moments after Goku returns to the Lookout after burning through the remainder of his time left on Earth, we see him saying his goodbyes to his wife Chi-Chi, reassuring her that once he gets to Otherworld, he'll make sure to say hi to Gohan for her. But this sweet moment is interrupted by Videl. Taking Goku to one side, she says that she can't explain it, but she feels that Gohan is alive. And when I saw this moment, it reminded me of something similar I saw during the fallout of Vegeta's sacrifice. Following the tearful farewell to the Saiyan Prince, the first voice we hear isn't Krillin's, Piccolo's, or anyone else that's more prevalent in the story. Instead, we immediately hear from Bulma, who's reflecting on the horrors she's seen unfold before her.
Right.
A character that we've not really heard much from at all this arc. Suddenly, the atmosphere shakes and an unease falls over Bulma specifically concerning her husband, almost as if she intuits something grave happened to Vegeta that very moment. That's about as far as it goes, but to me it's interesting that Videl and Bulma are both intrinsically tied to their respective partners in ways other far more prominent characters like Goku aren't.
Yeah, I know, that's cool. That's a very valid point. That's awesome. That is nice. That it's a nice contrast. Anyways, bye.
Majin Buu, this fat, goofy-looking sumo genie in a cape, is a deceptively complicated character masquerading as a simple one, at least during this material. There are some interesting scenes, too, that reveal this. At this point in the story, he's killed about 2/3 of the Earth's total population, a stat so massive it's become hard to even envision accurately in our minds. From the moment he's been released, Buu's acted like a terrifying child, bent on destruction and satisfying his own fleeting desires. However, the first indication we get that there's more to him than meets the eye comes to our attention when he stumbles across a little blind boy.
Oh yeah, he's blind, isn't he? Yeah, okay, yeah.
On his travels. And this is noteworthy because, unlike every single other person Buu's ever encountered, this little kid isn't afraid of him. He doesn't show him hatred or fear. Naturally, this takes Buu by surprise, and in the interest of restoring normality back to his own life, Buu cures the child's blindness, anticipating that he will then show him the same reaction all the others have once he sees him. But he doesn't. Instead, the young child, struggling for money,
Gives him anything. Yeah.
He gives Buu everything he has as thanks for this miracle he's performed. Buu naturally tries to eat it and later says that it tastes bad before turning more people he finds into milk to give to the child. And while that is horrifying in its own
It's a bit
right,
weird.
with him continuing his aimless destruction of the planet moments later, it should start to become obvious that there's more to Buu than a simple monster hell-bent on satisfying his own evil desires.
So cool. The design is sick. I love the hair, man. And the little jackety thing as well. So cool. Yeah.
This sequence, which acts as the conclusion to what has been Goten and Trunks' training for the most part, is the area of the story in which I think lost a lot of steam in the anime for me. In truth, this first unveiling of Gotenks serves three functions. To introduce us to Gotenks, obviously, to inform us of the risks and subtlety involved in performing the fusion dance, and of course a massive
failed
amount of
fusions as
snappy
well.
gag comedy.
Yeah.
We've all seen the fusion dance fail, resulting in the fat and skinny incarnations of the characters. Designs, results, and gags that were largely recycled during the Gogeta segment of the Broly movie in 2018. That is all funny. Ha ha ha, look at the fat kid run. But truly, this sequence of the story has everything from Toriyama's gag manga utility belt. Everything from slapstick to fourth wall breaks to naming conventions. However, when it comes to the anime, I always felt like this was the moment where the story started to lose me. And it's because this wasn't supposed to be the first time we see Gotenks fight Buu. In the manga, this is where we see Gotenks for the very first time. The first successful result of the fusion dance, but ultimately, still, it is just a stepping stone towards the finishing line that Piccolo has in mind. For the dance to truly work, they, according to Piccolo, need to be Super Saiyan while performing the dance. However, Gotenks' trademark ego gets the better of him, and he flies off to fight Buu, only for him to, moments later, return battered and bruised. It's a cutaway gag. Having received his comeuppance, this is a visual gag or punchline. There isn't even any indication as to how he escaped Buu's clutches when he did. But that's okay, because this is a random throwaway gag.
It's funny, yeah.
The anime, however, decides to turn this into an entire fight, to treat it far more seriously. One that sees Gotenks escape, running the risk of taking away Buu's prestige, all for a fight that isn't anywhere near as good as what their first fight ultimately is in the manga.
Actually, what do we call you?
You can call me the miraculous Trunks! Go! Okay, which one am I going with?
This is sick. This is so cool. They can't decide on that. That's cool. This is cool. I love it.
Well, I mean...
And they've done the two voices really well as well. It's class.
Trunks sounds weird, but Gotenks is like all Goten and a little
Trunks, yeah.
And I both know how this stacks. But yeah, it does sound better. Okay, then I'm going with Gotenks. But I owe me later. Yeah, I know.
Talking to each other. That's great.
Hold on then. Do we use he, him, or
Oh no, don't do this.
they, them?
Why? He's not non-binary. Well, definitely not. There's two of them in there.
No, yeah, that's kind of my point.
You kids and your pronouns.
You can just say I'm him, cause I'm about to bust up
I'm him. Go ahead.
Boo! Later!
Trumpton, wait!
Trumpton.
All I'm saying is back in my day, a hole was a hole.
You're gross.
There are more subversions like this leading up to their
Wow.
first fight, with the second time arising by way of their successful achievement of the Super Saiyan fusion dance. Following the successful fusion and some training, they rush to Buu's house only for them to unfuse the moment they arrive at the house.
No.
Again, this second attempt is kept light. It's a gag, but lucky for us, third time's the charm.
Hell yeah.
But before that, we have Mr. Satan and Majin Buu.
Oh yeah, here we go. So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
Of the three groupings I wanted to talk about during this training interlude, Majin Buu and Mr. Satan's contribution, while brief, was perhaps the most funny and rewarding. With the military having failed in the world after losing hope, the future of the planet is placed on the shoulders of the very champion who bested Cell.
Hell yeah.
The current reigning strongest under the heavens martial arts tournament winner, Mr. Satan. At face value, this sequence of
cool.
development seems so insanely wild that it's hard not to be enthralled. I mean, I spent over 3 hours total talking on the Cell Saga as well as the first half of the Buu Saga, and I somehow managed to almost avoid talking about Mr. Satan entirely. But that's not because I don't like the character, quite the opposite in fact. It's just that the way Satan is introduced to us is intentionally one-note, one-dimensional, and for laughs. He is not really meant at almost any point to be taken seriously as a character outside of his one interaction with Android 16.
Yeah.
But therein lies the genius of these upcoming developments. Through the previous dozens of volumes of manga, we have explored pretty much every character in the roster extensively. Even minor characters like Tenshinhan have had their character depths plunged all the way through to the Cell Saga. So when it came time to find a partner for Buu in this tale, there were of course a great many suited characters to choose from. But instead of that, instead of reaching back into the established well, Toriyama chose to explore and, in the process, wholly reinvent this one-note character.
Very clever move. Very clever move. It's a complete B-side story, isn't it, to like everything else. It's like, get someone that's not involved with everyone else to add to what's going on with Buu.
Those depths to his character, which will be revealed, they're enthralling because of just how unexpected they are. And much the same can be said for Majin Buu as well. And fittingly, in this entirely offbeat saga where gags have taken precedence over action and the intense atmosphere we've come to expect from Dragon Ball Z's previous arcs in many respects, the chapter chronicling the attempted infiltration and execution of Buu at the hands of Mr. Satan is more exciting with each passing page. On one hand, we have a character in Mr. Satan who is a walking embodiment of dramatic irony. As an audience, we know he has absolutely no chance, and what's more is, we know he knows that too.
Oh yeah, he's very, very self-aware, constantly putting on the face, but then putting on that mask. But when it comes down to it, you kind of question like, where's this gonna go? Because you know him, it's like he isn't just gonna get killed by Buu. What is gonna actually happen with him?
On some level. And on the other hand, we have Majin Buu, a character that is, at this juncture, about as unpredictable as the weather in Ireland. And this combination of Satan and Buu right off the bat creates a very unfamiliar atmosphere. It's exciting, but in a strange way. It almost feels like a different manga in some respects, with Toriyama's more creative paneling almost intentionally being simplified to parse out a very gag-focused story. Its simplicity almost resembles a comic strip, boasting exaggerated facial expressions and action that wouldn't feel out of place in an episode of Looney Tunes. Some of these expressions even remind me of some of Chuck Jones's best work.
Right.
But this visual simplicity covers a much more interesting and subtle story. When Mr. Satan came splashing onto the scene during Cell and continued on throughout this saga, he's initially depicted as a blowhard comic relief character. And in that role, he found a lot of success. However, as time rolled on, and as he took credit for things he quite literally could not do, transforming his own life in the process on the back of other people's work, while the heroes of this story didn't care, we as an audience at home sort of did.
Yeah.
And alongside the returning Son Goku, he almost represented the very worst of modern martial arts in this world. One that neither Goku nor Piccolo saw much value in comparing to what they grew up with. This man lived a lie, and as a result, the world loved him for it. He went from the world's martial arts champion to the world's savior, a title and level of fame he covets more than his own material wealth. And because of that desire to perpetuate this lie, he's found himself in increasingly dire circumstances. Circumstances that have now led him to the door of the fabled monster Majin Buu, a being responsible for now killing over 80% of the Earth's population.
It's a lot.
With all of that context, expectation, and preamble to this encounter is exactly what makes this scene itself so effective. Despite his greatest efforts to be something he's not, Mr. Satan doesn't stop Majin Buu because he's the toughest or strongest. He stops him by simply taking an approach that is entirely true to him and who he is.
Let's be friends.
The champion liar of the world ended up saving it by being genuine. And I love
just being himself, taking it away. Just being himself.
That. On the other side of the coin, Buu came into this world knowing only manipulation and fear. He sought out the latter, and through doing so comes across a small injured puppy. He takes it back to Satan specifically because he didn't treat him or react to him like the others have, like how he expects everything to react to him. However, once he heals
he's just used to everyone being scared and gotta fight it, gotta kill it, gotta get rid of it.
For the explicit purpose of making it run away and then killing it, the pup loves Buu. Through Mr. Satan and indeed Bay the puppy, Buu's introduced to and becomes fond of the feeling of being loved and appreciated. And he does so because this is the very first time he's ever felt anything like this. I mean, Mr. Satan asks him, "Why do you kill and destroy?" And Buu responds, "They said that it's how you play, bibbidi and bobbidi."
Oh.
And with that brief, innocent explanation,
Wow. Okay.
suddenly we see the root of Buu's nature isn't evil, it's simply misguided innocence.
damn.
Simply manipulated by cruel, tyrannical, small creatures. And just like that, because Buu likes Mr. Satan, and because Mr. Satan simply floats the idea by him, Majin Buu, there and then, quits killing.
Yeah, but then it's a shame what happens next.
お前やっちゃいけないと思うか？
まあ。
じゃあやめた。
The scene where Bei is shot is emotional for me. You can see how devastated Buu is, how close he is to snapping, and how he's holding himself in place, not killing because
He's trying to hold back to make up his promise, yeah.
he was asked not to. He's so desperately trying to keep the promise he made to his now best friend.
Aww.
It seems so unfair that mere moments after making up his mind on that, the very worst of humanity shows up and tries to take something so important from him. The creature that showed him love for the very first time. But this is where Mr. Satan steps in and shows that while alongside the demigods of this series he might look unimpressive, in the grand scheme of things he's more than capable. And through Mr. Satan's first actions
Yeah, anyone that's not a Z fighter, I think Hercule can take, you know what I mean? Yeah.
in this story, he's able to take out these thugs and alert Buu to Bei's fading life force in time for him to save him. But this is where the most interesting part of Buu's character comes into play, or rather is tested. Mr. Satan is shot in the back, and Buu is again enraged. More furious than we've ever seen him, he bends over to heal Mr. Satan with a special emphasis on his hands shaking in the manga.
Oh, wow.
Hardly able to contain the swell of negative emotion that no doubt resides within him. He wants to not kill, but these monsters have pushed him to the edge of reason. And honestly, in a similar fashion to how Kami described Piccolo was formed and ultimately purged from himself due to the evils of humanity,
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, cool comparison. Awesome.
Buu too purges himself of all the negative and evil in his system, brought about by the evils of humanity, creating a skinny, grey husk of a Buu, one that doesn't hold this new value or promise not to kill. It's a brilliant sequence and culmination to what has been some of the best chapters in this arc. The first thing this new Wrathful Buu does, it's not confronting his former self, it's slaughtering the man who dared try to take what he valued
interesting,
most, Mr. Satan. Clearly the impetus for this outburst, clearly what Pink Buu was holding himself back from doing.
Yeah.
And from there we get quite literally a clash of ideals as this new evil Buu begins to fight with the established Fat Buu. And unfortunately, it very quickly becomes apparent that the kinder Buu is outclassed.
Yeah.
A clear metaphor that the pent-up trauma that Buu has harbored being more potent than his newfound kindness. The manga's narration makes this point all the clearer.
Oh,
Quote,
okay.
"Alas, sweetness stands little chance against
Concentrated
concentrated
wrath. Damn.
And with that, it is only a measly page later where Buu's own chocolate beam is turned against him, and the evil Buu establishes himself as the dominant entity. Chapters upon chapters of build-up, careful character work between Satan and Buu, all gone to waste at the hands of pure evil. Both in terms of the gunmen that triggered all of this, as well as the deep-seated evil that lay dormant within Buu from his centuries of destruction at the whims of Bibbidi and Bobbidi."
Oh. It looks cool. It looks so cool.
Super Buu is born, and naturally the dynamic of the story shifts instantly. What was previously a moment of scrambling intermission with both sides of the war going through self-discovery has now zeroed into a singular, undeniable threat. The
Ugh.
power of Majin Buu, and then some, with the unfiltered wrath that lie within him, now in the driver's seat.
The evil is out.
Boo hungry!
Okay.
No, Boo! We do not eat dogs.
Boo confused. If humans eat cows and pigs, why do we eat dogs?
Because they're cute, domesticated, and functional.
So Sabres and Boo not eat you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Then Boo want DoorDash.
Oh, come on. They're overpriced.
Uber Eats.
That's worse.
Postmates.
They're all bad, Boo!
Then Boo eat driver.
Just don't eat people no more. Use your magic and turn rocks into food.
Ah.
Satan is genius. No eat people no more. Eat
Rocks instead.
Did I just save humanity?
I think you did. That's great. Yeah, you did.
I did! I saved the world! Everything's gonna be...
Oh, no.
Super Buu's introduction
Wow.
to the story imposes a sense of intense severity with a considerably higher degree of seriousness. And this is reflected in his design. I spoke on Majin Buu's design when he was initially revealed and waxed lyrical about how much I loved it. And I think given what Super Buu is bringing this story in terms of a more serious and dire atmosphere, his design reflects that by being importantly different to the original Fat Buu.
Yeah, he looks very much more like a fighter. And it does give the implication of, right, okay, this is where it starts to go down.
Shapes are interesting lenses through which to analyze how different designs manipulate our feelings towards a particular character. Triangles can be particularly fun as they can be either supremely stable or entirely off balance. The genie from Aladdin is a great example of an upside-down triangle with rounded circular features. The reason I love this design is that because magic is integral to his character, to reflect that aspect in his character's shape, he was intentionally drawn to be balanced on what is effectively the tip of one of the triangle's points, and never loses balance. This creates a sense of unease, but also a sense of magic within the character. Majin Buu is this design's approach, but flipped on its head. He's a right-side-up triangle, so to speak, with circular, rounded shapes. Typically, this sort of triangle is reserved for villains, but there's an aspect to his design that's quite disarming. His gentle, rounded shapes.
Yeah.
Almost as if to create a contrast with his actions or to betray an underlying innocence underneath it all. However, as we saw when he split in two, a second Buu was created with a very different look. And even when he later absorbs the old fatter Buu to become Super Buu, this new form reflects far less uplifting energy. No longer a triangle, no longer circular. Instead, he is one of the most square and rectangular
He's very
designs
rectangular.
in the entire series.
Yes.
Which is appropriate given what he offers now to the story in terms of a tonal shift. Stripping Buu of everything that made him likable, leaving behind nothing but a less fun, more matter-of-fact shape. However, as we will soon see with the walking personification of Toriyama's urge to write a gag manga, Buu 2 retains many of the characteristics his all-rounder counterpart had in...
Yeah, because he's not completely gone, is he? He's still absorbed him. It's still part of him, so he's still going to have that there, which is very interesting. And that's why it works when they take it out and he just becomes Kid Buu, which is complete and utter mayhem.
In terms of a comedic timing, albeit with a much more sinister air. And while Gohan continues his adventures in the plane of the Kaioshin elsewhere, and don't worry, I have an entire section written for Gohan specifically later.
Good, I was going to say, you just completely skipped over how he got there, cool.
This new Super Buu takes immediate action in driving the plot forward at full speed.
Just go to Kami. Yo, the lookout, boom, hi.
This is the most effectively tense scene in maybe the whole arc.
Yeah, he just turns up. It's like, okay, let's just go to the people that are trying to train to fight me. They're the only people that can do anything about it. Whoa.
There's a compelling reason for all parties to act as they do, and furthermore, there's a clever use of time to gain specific advantages. And my god, do I love this.
Yeah.
It's equal parts horrifying as it is intelligent and at times funny. The tone significantly changes after this section too, so let's enjoy it while we can.
Yeah.
The circumstances are quite simple. Buu has gained the ability to sense ki, and through doing so has located Trunks and Goten on the lookout. Currently, they are sleeping, and the only one capable of buying them time is Piccolo.
Goddamn.
Within the first half of this arc, Piccolo specifically had virtually nothing to do, emphasized by the fact that he spent most of the runtime of this arc as a statue.
Yeah.
However, this scene offers him the opportunity to leverage his ability to think and remain level-headed in a circumstance that would almost certainly result in utter failure for every other character in this story. Where Goku and Vegeta might resort to a more physical approach way too soon, knowing that he's outmatched, Piccolo uses his mind. And the most compelling part is, we know about as much information as Piccolo does at this time, so we, along with him, have to formulate a plan in real time, face to face, with this pink monstrosity. However, in trying to stall Majin Buu further, knowing that they are already at their last resort and need to rely on the Dragon Balls to return all of those killed back to life, Piccolo tells Buu that the boys will in fact fight him, but only after he's finished killing the remaining humans on planet Earth. And what unfolds is perhaps one of the most chilling scenes.
It's dark, this. Alright, fine, boom. They're all gone.
Walking right up to Piccolo, looking at him with unbreaking eye contact and minimal effort, standing atop the structure that's supposed to offer guardianship over the people of this planet, Majin Buu effortlessly erases every single last person on Earth from existence, save for one or two telling exceptions. The entire sequence really drives home how much the dynamic has shifted. What was once a foe that gave them a lot of wiggle room is now an absolutely relentless force. Searching for a backup plan, he sees Videl and says that she, Mr. Satan's daughter, wants you to wait 1 hour, and brilliantly, Buu accepts. Meanwhile, Piccolo informs Krillin to take the boys into the Room of Spirit and Time for training. 1 hour might not be a lot of time in the real world, but within the room, that 1 hour turns to 15 solid days of training. What an amazing strategy. However, while these characters have largely been relegated to gag-centric actions during this story, in this scene, the emotional icing on the cake is yet to reveal itself. Moments before the boys are taken into the room, Goten and Trunks see Buu kill Chi-Chi before their very eyes. Enraged and now refocused with a raw sense of purpose, the two young Saiyans prepare for the most physically and emotionally challenging fight of their young lives. Unfortunately, however, the patience Buu has exhibited to make this possible in the first place is about to run out before they expected it to. Things just got a lot more tense, and this is why I love this scene so much. Piccolo is managing all of this brilliantly, buying the kids as much time as he can, walking the long way to the room. And through using his psychic connection, Piccolo tells them to rest up, eat and sleep, because he's buying them an extra minute. And I just adore how Toriyama presents this in the manga. We see all of this from Piccolo's side of the conversation once he hangs up the proverbial phone. Once Piccolo stops communication between himself, Goten, and Trunks, he exchanges 1 or 2 lines with Buu. They arrive quite quickly at the door, and Buu walks in. No longer unprepared, there he is greeted by 2 young and determined Saiyans, completely rested, waiting for him to open that very door. It's a wonderful moment leveraging the boys' flair for the dramatic, Piccolo's intelligence, and the room's mechanics. It's just a wonderful moment. Whatever opinions I might have had concerning Gotenks in the anime at this point can be ignored largely, as the moment is far more significant in the manga. And I say this because I recall watching this very scene in the anime and being rather bored by it.
Yeah, I remember being a bit like, well, this could have been something more interesting or epic or...
Due to the fact that I'd already seen so much of Gotenks by this point, and had even seen him fight with Majin Buu specifically. There was no real attraction left for me to experience anymore. Just another random fight I had already seen time and again. However, in the manga, this is the very first time we've ever seen Gotenks in action, and what's more is, it's under extremely bizarre circumstances, in a location we've never seen people fighting in before, with contrasting character dynamics being the order of the day. Piccolo is desperate and serious, all the while Gotenks is sufficiently childish, holding back his power in the hopes of wowing his audience of 1. The pace of this fight additionally is very different to pretty much any fight in the modern material. The tone of the affair feels very much like a couple of super-powered children fighting, playing with each other, one being told one moment not to move, all the while the other tries out special secret techniques. And this choice gives the fight this entirely distinct feeling, for better or worse, than any other fight in recent memory.
Super Ghost Kamikaze attack!
Such a weird and unique attack as well. Like, yeah. Like, it's cool that he's got his own thing, like. These things got their own friggin' Funko Pop as well. Woo!
Hey!
Wait!
Haha, Go Snapper! Love it! Oh, this is great!
Appa!
Hey, kids, how's it hanging?
What are you doing here?
Ah, yeah, so I was having a stroke in my trailer, and it did not end well.
Okay.
Our condolences?
It's my fault. Shouldn't have made that extra notch in the belt.
I don't get it.
Ask Trunks' dad.
But he's dead.
Fuck am I doing here?
This is great!
Oh no.
They finally reunite!
Vegeta!
That's brilliant. That is so good. Oh, that is so good. Alright. Anyway.
Super Ghost Kamikaze attack is my personal favorite of Gotenks' arsenal and one of the funniest moves in all the series. This does for comedy what the Kaioken does for action. It's such a fun idea and perfect for this tone of fight in a saga like this. Buu is additionally the perfect villain to entertain this sort of foolishness. And furthermore, the combination of Piccolo's straight man mixed with Gotenks' overzealous idiot is a match made in heaven both comedically and narratively. The entire fight is pretty much chock full with Toriyama having the time of his life with fun gags. Not even just in Gotenks' silly moves, but moments like cutting to Buu having already regenerated long ago, now sipping on a milkshake. It is the ultimate mix of Dragon Ball Z's giant power scope and Toriyama's love for the silly.
Yeah.
Much like some of the fights in the early Tenkaichi Budokais, the jump from whoa, that's cool to laughing are constant. Unfortunately, ever obsessed with creating a dramatic fight, Gotenks hides Super Saiyan 3 and pretends to be out of energy, which naturally forces Piccolo to take a drastic measure, destroying the door to the room, trapping them all inside. I love this sequence of the story.
This was very cool. It was like, whoa, well, what the hell? How'd she even get out? It's like, that's the door. That's the door, and you just took it away.
It's snappy, doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's around this point where the Buu Saga starts to show its cracks. Despite having sung the praises of this section in a fashion I never thought I would for as long as I have, as soon as Piccolo locks them all inside this room, a choice I loved, by the way, when I read it.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Because this strategy by Piccolo was smart and foolproof, it turns out it was too smart and too foolproof. Because within seconds, Buu escapes through screaming.
Just screaming.
Sure, why not? I don't like this because it kind of feels cheap, but what really irks me is that these are the conditions we see Gotenks reveal Super Saiyan 3 under. Not to brave himself against some almighty foe, but instead to scream like an idiot to get out of a room.
Yeah, it's a bit daft. It's really like the comedy and the seriousness are very leveled out, and then Buu does that, and it's like it's the only way to do it, innit? And it's just a bit cringy, really.
Now, these are all nitpicks, and if this was all there was to the scene, I'd be able to get past it relatively quickly. However, there is more. Earlier, I acknowledged the power and emotion generated by Goten seeing his mother killed by Buu before his very eyes, changing both of the children's respective demeanors in an instant, taking one of the lessons he learned from his father before he left and putting it into practice, that being channeling that very rage into motivation and results. However, when we next check in on the two boys, they're having fun, feeling confident in the room. I thought this made sense, personally. And the fight that took place in the room thereafter felt similarly light-hearted. I really liked that decision because at the end of the day, Goten and Trunks These are kids.
They
and
are,
Kids are
yeah.
easily distracted. At that point, they had been alone goofing around in a room for a solid week together, so it's all gravy with me here.
It's all
But
gravy.
when they do get out, and Buu is revealed to have eaten all of their friends and family in the seconds it took them to get out, the fact that the tone of the fight didn't change even remotely.
Bit weird.
It just really sucked me out of the fight, and more than that, just made me not care at all. It killed the pacing. We've already seen Gotenks' gag-fueled fighting, and now
Don't need
should
to
have
see
been the
it.
time where the kids got angry.
Serious,
But
yeah.
instead, we just continue with the silly gag fighting. We see him telling Piccolo to serve up the volleyball for him to spike it. It's a funny joke, but dudes, he killed your parents.
Yeah, everyone's dead.
You're orphans now. The anime adds a meaningful and appropriate reaction to this news the manga otherwise didn't. And I honestly really appreciated that. Look at this reaction. It nailed the tone I was thinking about. But the fight that ensued afterwards still remained as light-hearted as ever. Fighting that, even if we ignore how it undercuts the stakes, is still a style of fight best suited to short bursts. And right now, it's going on just that little bit too long. It's a gag that I'm not finding humor in anymore, and outside of that, despite all of the prep, the two powerful children with a great story couldn't get the job done. And as some of the last remaining inhabitants on planet Earth, it seems Buu's victory is all but assured.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Super Gohan.
The return of Gohan.
So sick as well, because like when we talk about like how I reviewed the first bit, and it was weird that like he tried to make Gohan the main character, then he shifted in, put him to the side, and then now he bringing him back in. I like this,
From the early moments of
but it's
that
still the Goku show, so he has to turn up.
first video,
Like with every movie, like the movie with what's the guy with the sword? He's not in it at all. Wrath of the Dragon, and then he just turns up Super Saiyan 3. Dragon Fist.
wrote in this Dragon Ball Z review series, I defined it as the story of Goku and also the rise of Son Gohan. A tale that chronicled his climb from powerless young child to powerful young man. One that saw him confronted with the horrors of humanity and beyond, all the way to his defining moment in the series. One that any and every fan of the story rightfully touts as a pivotal moment for him. However, it might have also occurred to some of you that during this video in particular, I've made mention of Gohan maybe once.
Yeah, not at all.
Why is that?
Yeah, come on.
Well, I'm a big fan of what Gohan can offer this story, and what's more is, in one way or another, while reading this material, even when Gohan failed to stop the release of Majin Buu, this story, to me, still felt as though it was in the process of telling an exceptionally strong story for his character, one that I was very excited to see. However, what follows, while strong in places, ultimately ends in a less than ideal situation for him and us, creating a feeling that perhaps our time following the character faithfully through this arc was, in some measure, wasted. During this review, I intentionally refrained from speaking about Gohan, and I did so to help illustrate that outside of his own little self-contained story with the Kais, Gohan's exploits during his training material had little to no impact on anyone other than himself, until this very moment. While Buu and the two boys impacted each other's stories rather directly, Gohan's contributions to the story begin from this moment he touches down on Earth, with everything that came before largely concerning itself with comedic moments of levity to cut away to. I should mention that this isn't necessarily a bad thing either. It just puts a lot of pressure on what happens when Gohan does eventually show up to make the save on Earth. Goku's character offered a very similar dynamic as he was traveling to Namek. He didn't impact the group at all until he arrived, and so just like Goku arrives on Namek, Gohan's journey and contribution made during his training portion will largely be defined by how his character is used following this moment of heroism against Majin Buu. And so, before I really dive into the weeds on this one, it's probably a good idea to run through what his story and training arc involved.
Good. I'm glad. I thought he was just going to completely brush this off, but cool.
What worked for me, what didn't, and where I thought there was a very clear direction implemented that could have, if approached correctly, granted Gohan one of the strongest moments in his entire run in this story. The Z-Sword.
The Z-Sword. This is so cool. Now, everyone did that, didn't they? Because it's Dragon Ball Z, and then as soon as they go, the Z-Sword, it's like, Because it's called the Z Sword and it's Dragon Ball Z. It's like, oh my god!
After losing some steam during the Majin Vegeta material, Gohan's story really started to pick itself up during this training section, convincing everyone, including Goku, that he's being killed and set Gohan up for that incredible save moment on his brother I touched on earlier, which is honestly some nice use of dramatic irony. Furthermore, the circumstances he's rescued from really speak to the tendency of Shin, who at the time was hanging on by a thread, willing to walk literal miles through desert and forest to find and save Gohan.
Damn.
Thankfully, he didn't need to due to the wish made on the Dragon Balls, and Kibito was given another important job. Healing Shin, they quickly locate Gohan and transport him to the land of the Kais, where we really get down to business. Much the same way Goten and Trunks' training goals were laid before them by Goku, Shin too informs Gohan of his destiny here, to remove the fabled Z-Sword from the stone. Again, I think this is a perfect story for Gohan to undergo. The legend of King Arthur pulling the sword from the stone is a prototypical chosen one type story.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's like, come on, you are meant to be the hero here. Prove it.
Plucking an unassuming Arthur from squalor, granting
fate.
him a chance to prove himself and become the rightful king of England. Naturally, in the case of this story, Toriyama is repurposing this myth. If Gohan can pull the sword from the stone, supposedly he should be able to slay Buu. He would be the chosen one, the first in recorded knowledge,
And then he breaks it. It's just like,
according to Shin, to pull said sword from the stone. In addition to the obvious similarities to the King Arthur mythos, this challenge shares a lot in common with some of my favorite training segments from Dragon Ball's past. There's a physical challenge proposed, the main character accepts, and through accepting he undergoes a process to achieve this goal. Oh, well that was fast. I am more than okay with this creative decision too. In fact, for Gohan to show up and upon his first serious try succeed in pulling the sword from this stone, it follows the archetype Toriyama is referencing to a T. And what's more is, Toriyama finds a way to make it funny. When I think of the sword in the stone, I think of a little kid pulling the sword not because he's strong, but instead because he's just. Because he's the true king.
Because he's the one that's meant to have it. He is the chosen one.
And this is an enchanted sword. However, as Gohan demonstrates, what makes this sword tough to pull wasn't his chosen one-ness, so to speak, just his ability to lift heavy things. And what's more is, to further subvert the myth, Gohan hasn't been bestowed with anything supernatural. All he has now is a really heavy
sword,
which
yeah.
is hilarious. Following the antics with this sword, returning from his scene-stealing moments with
It's the same as kind of like gravity training, isn't it, I suppose? Like, it's just, if you can wield a really fucking heavy sword, you can wield a decent sword, and that's going to build up some strength, isn't it?
Goten and Trunks, Goku joins Gohan during his training with the sword. This, I felt, was a bit of a missed opportunity and sort of felt like Goku was added to this mix for no other reason beyond Toriyama needing him in a scene.
Yeah, he has
somewhere.
to be there, yeah.
He offers plenty of infectious energy to the scene, but it could have been cool to see him offer advice or direction when wielding the sword to subvert the gag and actually reveal some lesson. Sort of the same way Roshi and Korin did for him back in the day. This isn't necessarily so much a criticism as it is something I thought could have rounded out his inclusion here a bit more. However, with that said, he does instigate the instance that progresses Gohan's story.
Let's go.
The old Kai.
Hey.
Hey, Shin? I think your grandpa's here.
Excuse me, sir. Who are you? What, are your eyeballs for show? Peep the suit, kiddo.
Peep the suit. I love it.
I'm a Kaioshin. Kaio what? But how?
And why were you in the sea sword?
Before I answer that, can anyone here pop my back? I spent 75 million years sealed away in that son of a bitch.
That's a long freaking time.
All because of that bingus named B. Wait a second. Who are they?
Them? They're from the mortal realm.
Oh my! What are Mortys doing on our planet?
Morty. Alright.
Oh no.
Okay, so this might be the hardest stance I'll take on anything in this arc. Anyone out there that loves Old Kai is perfectly entitled to. He has some good...
It was so out of nowhere, and it doesn't really make any sense, but okay.
...gags and offers a lot of personality to the mix. However, for me, he represents what I felt was robbed from Gohan in this story to a certain extent. Not that it was his fault, he didn't write his own role in the story. Roshi, Korin, and other masters across this story have all been disarming, offbeat, and in a word, eccentric. Memorable characters dwelling within interesting circumstances with a lot to offer our heroes if they can pass their tests. It's a simple but foundational dynamic established as early as the first arc of this series. And Old Kai does indeed share some of these qualities. He's revealed in a surprising fashion, he's disarming to the extreme, seriously offbeat, and dwells within circumstances and a land unseen by any mortal until Gohan and Goku showed up. But this is where the comparisons end, because unlike King Kai, unlike Korin, unlike Roshi, there is no wax on, wax off moment. No lesson for Gohan to
It's literally just sit there and I'll just power you up.
intentionally or unintentionally learn. Instead, Gohan is placed in a waiting room masquerading as a wise master training a young hero. It's precisely the sort of unearned power I dislike, and what's more is the very presence of this scene, which was interspliced between Goten and Trunks' moments, served to rob their contributions to this story of all their tension, because with this going on in the background, we knew all we were doing was waiting for
Gohan to turn
and
up,
with death being treated as no consequence thanks to the Dragon Balls now, it just sucked me further out of the story and really emphasizes that Toriyama had nothing for Gohan in this section of the story outside of just waiting his turn.
Yeah, it's like literally just like, I need him to just turn up later and just be strong. So I'll just write that.
And looking at this overall, Goten and Trunks really got the better end of this arrangement. Tasked with cleaning up the mistakes of their fathers, they are on the front lines and need to contend with incredible responsibility, all the while coming to grips with a threat they couldn't possibly begin to understand. Furthermore, the training they undergo makes sense. A technique passed down by the older generation that involves them needing to learn cooperation and a particular movement to perfect. Whereas Gohan is quite literally, I have nothing for you now, please sit down and wait until it's your turn. Oh, also, here's a free and totally unearned increase in power that negates further consequence that may arise due to your own lack of training during the last 7 years. No need to learn a lesson.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's like, right, okay, cool. The whole point is like, you should have like trained just in case, like everyone else. But no, but I need you to be strong enough to deal with the bad guy. So here's a free power up. You didn't do anything to get. Boom. It was really weird, but it was cool to see him be as strong as saying 2 or 3 potentially, 3 potentially in base. That was cool to see.
In here, I got you, fam. And that's sort of what I dislike about this. There's no acknowledgement of Gohan's failings, no lessons learned, no real progression from this training outside of a bigger number for his power level to boast. Which wouldn't have been an issue if this wasn't presented as the grand moment Toriyama had been building to in this training material.
Oh, what's wrong, little boy? Do you need an adult?
No. I am an adult.
And okay, look, here's
Say that.
I think I know what Toriyama was really going for with this Gohan section. It's the exact same approach he took for a lot of this arc, really. For him, it seems clear that he wasn't as concerned with the narrative weight of this training section for Gohan, because that comes second to the primary concern here. That being, trying to tell a good joke. It seems clear to me, both from reading and his own notes, that he was not so much concerned with thematic through-lines or narrative tension or any of that really. His primary motivation was funny old Kai does wacko dance around an annoyed Gohan. Being able to cut back and forth between the dire circumstances on Earth and the utter ridiculousness of the Kaioshin planet is funny.
So have like a funny side to it, but
But it is at the cost of those other elements, I think. And for some people, they are fine coasting along through the Buu Saga as the romp that it is. A victory
still has to throw it up every time. It's funny.
lap of an arc for Toriyama, pulling every favorite move from his repertoire. But I personally cannot get past how much these gags, with Gohan in particular, deflate things.
They do.
Despite the fun gags, King Arthur
The tension's just taken away, man.
interpretations, and sweet departing moments with father and son, all I am left feeling is a sense of nothingness. Like a character that has been built up to for years has been shelved for the sake of gags, only to be reintroduced as though that journey he just went on was a legitimate one. squaring up to Super Buu, following an heroic moment of last-minute rescue, it's almost impossible not to see the parallels made to Goku at this moment. Like this was Gohan's scene to steal, requesting to don his father's gi, arriving at the last moment following mystical training, now confidently measuring the depth of the foe that eagerly awaits him. It's a great moment and one that I can't help but feel compliments Gohan's time spent on Namek perfectly.
Yeah.
On Namek, Gohan underwent a similarly convenient power-up and through it gained a level of strength that served him wonderfully as the story marched onward. However, despite the enormous boosts in power, surrounded by the formidable enemies of that era, he was still nothing more than a child fighting against monsters. Frieza in his second form would tower over him sadistically as he all but kills Krillin before his eyes.
Brutality.
Totally powerless to help or do anything to stop him. And on not one but two separate occasions, his father would arrive to restore hope to the worsening circumstances. He needed his father. He wasn't ready then. But right here, unflinching, unblinking, and undeterred,
Let's go.
Gohan, mistaken by Goku, by Piccolo, and cheered on by his little brother, looks the living embodiment of death in his black, soulless eyes, and smiles. I didn't say this before because I wanted to wait for this moment, but while I was reading through Fat Buu's final moments against his evil, skinny counterpart, I had a thought about this creative choice to alter Buu's composition within the narrative, thinking at the time that it perhaps gave an indication to the sort of direction Toriyama wanted to steer the story at that very moment. During my analysis of this arc's beginning, I drew attention to the sort of character Gohan was, discovering in the process that he was very much a reactionary superhero archetype in every sense of the word. I saw nothing wrong with that design or approach taken with his character. In fact, I thought it was fitting. However, the greater story lacked a specific villain for him to fight against, to react to for the greater
there was nothing
good.
at the beginning,
He
was
was
there?
very
Yeah.
much a yin without his yang. Spider-Man without his Green Goblin, a Batman without
his
his
Joker, yeah.
However, while looking at that vengeful and wrathful incarnation of Majin Buu manifest and take root within this story creating Super Buu, I started to see a villain that could have potentially drawn out the very best of Son Gohan. It might seem overly simplistic to suggest that a villain would have solved all of Gohan's issues in this arc, and while that is true, it's still a significant issue and moreover offered a start for the character. In the right story, in the right hands, the right villain can elevate a terrific hero.
Well, definitely.
When you're
If you've
dealing
got
with the battles of good versus evil, or a hero.
Yeah, if you've got the actual, like, what you want your main characters to be, like, flipped, that is what you need from a villain. Like, it is. I love a really good villain, man. And I feel like a villain, if he's done right, can bring out the best in a hero. But let's see what Mark has to say. I'm not very good at explaining these things.
Hero versus the villain, it's important to design these two sides such that
Mate,
they complement each other.
Dio vs. Joro. Sick.
Their strengths. A terrific example of this could be seen between Goku and Frieza. In my review of that material, I described Goku as an unstoppable force against Frieza's immovable object. Revelation of character is important, and with Goku's fight with Frieza, there were several instances of revelation. When all out of options, Goku threw caution to the wind to gamble everything on a ×20 Kaioken, all the while when Frieza starts to feel the pressure, he takes it out on the planet. He stands
just
up
like,
on it.
right, let's just
When
destroy
Frieza
everything.
was on the cusp of victory, he dragged everything out, teasing Goku and killing his friends slowly. However, when Goku knew he had victory in hand, he immediately quit.
He was like, I'm
My
out.
point is, a villain does far more than provide a hero a simple punching bag. A great villain draws out and emphasizes the hero's greatest qualities. This is all to say that in storytelling, heroes and villains oftentimes share similar qualities, share similar traits, backstories, etc. intentionally. They often are exposed to or share in the same pain as each other.
Yeah.
And beginning from a place of commonality allows
make us
these
see another
characters to
side
feel
of them.
on some level intrinsically connected to each other. And the differences that surface between them arise in the story through the decisions they ultimately make. What they choose to do about this pain that has come to define who they are. Whether that be how they themselves deal with pressure or how they respond to victory at hand. There's a wonderful quote that succinctly gets to the core of a great hero and a great villain. A great villain might say something like, "The world hurt me, and so therefore, I'm going to hurt it back." Whereas a great hero like Gohan might say, the world has hurt me, but I'm not going to let it hurt
Anyone
anybody
else. Yeah.
In other words, heroes use pain and villains are used by it.
Right, yeah.
And while not a total one-to-one comparison, I think there's something to the idea that Gohan has never lost his kindness despite being faced with the horrors of this universe, only wanting to further help people, all the while this super-powered Buu is wrath and evil personified. A side of Buu that's taken control, a side that was created when exposed to the evils of the universe and indeed humanity, now resulting in pure wrath. It's such a compelling and powerful story, one that speaks not only to Gohan's character, but offers Buu too something to work with. Finally, Gohan is in a position he feels natural operating within, and then everything changes. Regrettably, Gohan's arrival doesn't feel as massive as it otherwise stood to be. Simply because, in my view, the tone of the story is sort of all over the place, almost as if Toriyama in this instance was the most unsure he's been in quite some time. In the past, whether it was the case or not, the stories of these arcs have always felt as though they've been working towards a clear vision. Goku versus Vegeta, Goku versus Frieza, Gohan versus Cell.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty as to like what's happening with the story.
All the while, he certainly needed to figure out how to connect the beginnings of these stories to its endings he had in mind. For this arc, it's very much felt like he's been totally in the dark himself as to where this story is even going in a vague sense. Especially at this moment in the story, it feels aimless.
Yeah, it's like, come on, surely this has to be the end goal, but is it? Like, what's going to happen afterwards? We don't have an inkling as to what's going to happen if Gohan wins, kind of thing. Yeah.
Compare this to when Goku arrived against Nappa, or Piccolo arriving against Frieza, or Vegeta arriving against Android 19. To me, Gohan versus Super Buu is easily one of the most frustrating, because it could have been so much more. And I think, unfortunately,
definitely, considering what happens after the fact, Jesus.
I think this is where Toriyama decided how he wanted to end this story. And you can feel that decision made almost instantly, because Gohan goes from this to this in a remarkably short amount of time.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Following the beatdown Gohan levels against Super Buu, instead of seeing that fight through to a natural conclusion or taking a more Gohan-centric path, Toriyama, as it was reflected in that quote I shared at the beginning of this arc, felt as though he wasn't suited to the role, resigning himself to a conclusion led by Goku with Vegeta as a supporting character. And to make this happen,
you had to bring them back. It's unfortunate.
Toriyama cuts the Buu fight short. Buu goes off to hide for an hour, allows Gotenks the time to recharge and absorb him and Piccolo, leaving Son Gohan alone against this overpowered monster. And fittingly, Buu refers to himself at this juncture as the most powerful past, present, and future, seeing as he has now within him the fighters from all generations involved in this counter-offensive. It's not at all a bad plan of attack. In fact, it's quite resourceful. But it's at this point I felt as though the narrative started to come undone, and one could easily see Toriyama scrambling to set up pieces for what will be the big finish to this arc he will illustrate in pen.
It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Let's just keep going. We'll figure it out. Like, just keep absorbing people. Just keep fighting. It's like,
And in order for these pieces to get into place, it certainly felt as though Toriyama was reaching in places, creating a very, well, downright funny and slightly depressing atmosphere. What do I mean? Well, number one, Old Kai just gives Goku his remaining life. I guess that's something that can happen now when Toriyama needs another hero to return to the battlefield.
Yeah.
Number two, Vegeta then returns to the story suddenly, though this feels a lot more justified using an existing mechanic in Baba.
Yes.
Number three, the Patara earrings are introduced out of nowhere with the added caveat of their effect being permanent to counteract the less cooperation-based utilization.
Yeah, because we've seen Fusion, but yeah.
Not a bad inclusion, just extremely last minute, making Shin look like an idiot, and obviously included for the sake of connecting plot points quickly
make
rather
us
than
understand what
just
happens.
to have fun.
Yeah.
Technically, the earrings in particular were introduced primarily to separate the fused Goku and Vegeta from their movie counterpart Gogeta, as Toriyama has talked about in numerous interviews. But that doesn't change the outcome, not to mention the issue that would have arisen had he had Goku and Vegeta.
So Fusion was already introduced in the movie first, and then, so this was, right, cool.
Do the fusion dance as originally planned. And finally, number four, Tenshinhan, who looked as though Toriyama was planning to do something clever with, with him always subtly alluding to his existence outside of the group, now literally shows up, makes one save, and then becomes useless in literally 1 second. Buu's legs just kick him and he eats total shit.
Bye.
Never to be seen again in the story. Outstanding.
Wow.
Now listen to them, child.
Wow, what a voice. Oh my god.
The voices of those you failed to save. Go on. Make it see what he sees.
Oh, this is so... Jesus Christ.
I can feel what he feels.
Oh, this is so gross and dark. Oh god.
What's going on? Was I an egg? Where am
Oh, that's Chi-Chi. Oh, Jesus.
I?
DoorDash for a Mr. Ba?
Whoops, ignore that one.
No, wait.
But perhaps...
Oh my god, that was dark. Jesus Christ. Ah. What would have been Dragon Ball Z Bridge Buu Saga? Jesus Christ. Oh god.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the last...
No. Wait.
In every...
No. I accidentally clicked off.
The next generation, the opportunity...
No. Where are we?
We got to think about the infiltration
I got too far.
as we
No, I've got
the story. Outstanding. Next generation, the opportunity to protect
Oh no! What have I...
him as we cross the finish line. Unfortunately,
No. Wait.
the story. Outstanding.
Okay, let's click this.
Now sees itself
There we go.
communicating another...
No. Jesus!
How the next generation... Trust your children or the next generation...
Let's go with this.
Fuck them. Don't forward plan or anything. Just improvise yourself and do everything because your kids are shit. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic here. This section really gets me worked up though. In truth, the thematic pivot here is clear. In trying to set up the future generation for success, the prior generation now must...
Yeah, they've taken that away. They completely took that away in the Buu Saga. It was set up to be like, right, they're going to be the future. But at the end, it's Goku and Vegeta that come back and save the day.
make one last...
Fighting against something that's absorbed all of the future generation that are meant to be the build-up. Alright.
Final return to clean up the mess they made. One final act of day saving so that said future generation can live on and see to fruition their vision. And given this is the final arc in the series, a series that started as the sole story of Son Goku, on some level it is fair to bring it back to him as we cross the finish line. Unfortunately, it's just... could we have come to that conclusion a bit more gracefully, please?
Yeah.
There are so many
could have been
ways
done
we could
so
have
much
arrived at this
better.
final theme. The beginning of this arc even planted a lot of these seeds, sort of, with the carnage at the tournament and Buu's release being solely on the shoulders of the prior generation's poor decisions and priorities. But once Vegeta died, pretty much every single step we took led us farther away from those themes and closer to the youngest generation cleaning up this mess. Only for us to then jump right back in the final
To
moment.
the loop.
Save me, I'm gonna go insane.
Yeah. Vegito!
Yosha!
Best
Alright,
boy
Vegito.
chapter.
Despite all my complaints and narrative confusion from the previous section, once we arrive at Vegito's introduction, the story finally resolves down to a very clear goal and path. And unlike the anime, which felt bloated, in the manga he erupts into Super Saiyan right out the gate.
Oh,
and
straight
gets
away.
some good stuff.
Cool.
And speaking of Vegito, he is a pretty interesting character, mostly because, to me at least, Vegito isn't really a character and more so a result. When I look closely at his makeup, Vegito is closer to a moment, like Goku transforming into Super Saiyan for the first time, than he is an actual character. And I say that because the most interesting thing about him isn't who he is or what he's like, but instead how he came to be. This is a form that can only come to be through Goku's willingness to set aside his poison and work with another fighter for the greater good, and for Vegeta to do the same for his loved ones. This is a form, a result that can only exist because of who these two characters are, both literally and figuratively, in this exact moment in time after their shared history. Furthermore, it's a much more fitting way to approach the end of this story. Old Kai even said it himself, quote, "These two have the power. Two of the greatest masters in the worlds of the living and the dead, and it doesn't hurt that they live to outdo each other." And that's what this is. That's who Vegito is. As a standalone character, he's nothing. But as a character, he doesn't need to be something. He's simply a shining and powerful symbol of Goku and Vegeta's respective journeys having come to a moment of reconciliation, and that's brilliant.
And working together and just beating the shite out of this guy.
And hilariously, the existence of fusion as a concept in Dragon Ball came about as a joke between Toriyama and Masakazu Katsura.
Oh, cool.
You are my friend!
Oh good, another fusion. So what are you then?
We are a warrior, born of the baton.
Oh my god, this is gonna be sick.
A combination of Vegeta and Go!
Can't say Goku.
Karat. Huh, that was weird. Why can't we say go?
But he can say Kakarot, right?
Go!
Because Vegeta doesn't. I love it.
Are you alright?
Sir, we are talking to ourselves.
This is brilliant.
Vegeta and Go!
Go.
Vegeta and Go!
So sick.
Whatever! You can just call us Vegito. And son, go fuck yourself!
Are we going to...
Sir, we will fight you in a minute.
Sir. Brilliant.
There's a lot to...
That was genius. That was so... Go! Because Vegeta just can't call him Goku.
love about this section thematically, as a plot beat demonstrating Vegeta and Goku's willingness to throw their egos and personal preferences to the side, which caused this mess, in order to rescue everyone from inside Buu is a compelling one. However, this isn't to say that there aren't any aspects I had issues with. Simply put, when you stop to think about the infiltration of Buu's body with Vegito, you realize that the combined contribution of our time spent with Goten, Trunks, and Gohan during this training material, all of the fights and compelling writing, all of those chapters, has resulted in little more than a motivation for Vegito to go inside of Buu.
Yeah.
Now, I love the idea of exploring the insides of him in search of their allies, and the plan with which they escape through the head is a clever one. But ultimately, I'm not a fan of why Goku and Vegeta remained unfused following this moment. Not because I think there's a thematic shortcoming here or anything like that, but instead because Vegeta destroying the Potara in this moment for the reasons he's expressed doesn't ring true to the development he's just undergone in this very arc. In the past, Vegeta's blowhardy nature has been the direct culprit behind so many negative events taking place in this story. His insecurity and resentful nature led to Cell reaching his perfect form. However, it was that very ego that was cast into the wind along with his life during his sacrifice. An open acknowledgement that he has changed and moved past that way of thinking. However, despite this, he destroys them anyway. Knowing that he's still vastly weaker than Buu currently, in making this decision, Vegeta has threatened the fate of the entire universe for no other reason than his own personal discomfort. A discomfort that stems from his distaste of Kakarot, a character he will in mere chapters praise as, quote, #1. In my mind, this would have been a great moment for them to put aside their poisons in the name of righting the wrongs of their past, but instead, that very poison creates one last monster for them to fight.
Obey Kid Buu. Let's go.
Enter Kid Buu.
Absolute evil. The Earth is gone.
But as we approach the finale of this spectacular story and celebrate all that Akira Toriyama has brought to the table over the years, it's also time to celebrate the folks that made this story move and created an animated adaptation that introduced a generation
Oh, we're gonna
of
go
fans
through the
all over
animators and
world
stuff. Cool,
to
cool, cool.
Dragon Ball. While the Buu arc story saw a major shakeup to its main players, so too did the anime find itself completely overhauled. Until this point, Minoru Maeda has sat in the character designer position right from the very start of the original series. And if you include Dr. Slump, the man has been the face of Toriyama-style animation for a decade. It was time to shake things up. In an Anime Land magazine interview, Maeda had said he felt things were starting to stagnate with him at the helm, and so he handed the baton over to one of the animators he had trained up over the years, Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru.
Right.
And with that, he felt that new life had been brought to the series, and sailed off into the wind with complete peace of mind.
Bye.
And new life is exactly what was found. Where Maeda had struggled with Toriyama's newfound complex musculature, drawing strange baguette plate arms, or falling back on poorly
Baguette
referenced
arms,
material,
Jesus.
Nakatsuru immediately elevated the series with designs filled with impressive line confidence and a style that felt like a truly refined and modern take on the manga.
looking
But
good.
he wasn't alone. Tadayoshi Yamamuro of Shindo Productions had been given design duties for the series' movies, and a chunk of his designs were already being supplemented with Maeda's in the previous arc. This
Cool.
only continued further with Nakatsuru, a combination that created a catalog of material that meant this new arc was fresh with excellence in every single way. For many of the sub-studios, this production overhaul seemed to serve as a real motivator, reigniting passion and encouraging major development. For much of these production segments, I've spent a lot of time
Yukio
poking fun at Yukio
Ebisawa.
Ebisawa's work, and accidentally pronounced
Oh,
his
no.
name as Ebisawa, but shut up. Really, this was all because his style was just so bizarrely detached from Toriyama that it truly verged on meme tier at times. And, well,
Okay.
this arc is partially his redemption. While there are absolutely still a big chunk of bizarre-looking scenes from him, Studio Live's episodes largely become a non-issue. Toshiyuki Kano, since his very first episode on the series, had been a cut above the rest, and that only got stronger and stronger as the series progressed, to the point that Ebisawa almost never corrected his work at all. Well, he clearly paid a lot of attention to Kano, because with this arc, it's plain to see him attempting to mimic his style, and the results aren't half bad at all. With the studio
Looking
gaining
good.
two new talents, Yuko and
Yuko.
Hideki Inoue, both
Okay.
great in their own rights and probably not related, it almost certainly seems like Ebisawa recognized himself as the weak
Right.
point and got the kick up the butt he needed to ensure his episodes didn't continue to make him look like a fish out of water. I mean, Vegeta's sacrifice... in
He's
an
still
Ebisawa
using that
episode-
fish out of nowhere.
Who'd have thought? It's such a recurring theme that it's kind of inspiring in a way. Studio Carpenter was a studio who joined the fray in the previous arc, and you may recall me mentioning that their supervisor, Yuji Hakamada's work was not exactly the best. It required some pretty strong chief corrections to be brought up to par, and yet, in this arc, he ain't looking too bad at all. His work no longer needs redrawing from scratch,
Corrections
and
by
not only
Yuji
does it often
Hakamada,
look
right.
decent enough in its own right, our newly grown boy is somehow given some really important episodes like, I don't know, the finale of the arc? One his art is
Cool.
kind of boxy
Cool.
with strangely pointed noses, making him not exactly my favorite. The fact he's no longer someone to loudly grow
I don't
at
mind
is
the
a
pointy
great
noses,
evolution
you know.
in my book.
Ugh.
All this
Yay.
quick progression and skill really lends itself to the overall feeling of this arc truly being the next generation of Dragon Ball animation. A studio by the name of K-Production joined the series in this era, led by a man named Shingo Ishikawa.
Shingo
And while, as we
Ishikawa,
established in the last video, newcomers are subject to chief corrections. Ishikawa really didn't need correcting for very long. or
Ooh,
even
look at the
that
progression
intensely.
there,
After
damn.
only a few episodes, Ishikawa's work shone brighter than so many of his peers. The guy's work was seriously polished, fiercely aggressive, and best of all, his episodes actually felt super dynamic thanks to some incredibly awesome posing. He is easily one of my favorite artists on the show and responsible for so many amazing
cool.
moments. And well, it was probably a good thing that K-Production didn't need much help from the chief supervisors, for there was another studio that joined the fray, and
Who?
apparently they really
Kino
did need all the
Productions.
help they could get. In spite of their name, Kino Productions was not exactly Kino. In many ways, they were kind of just a workhorse addition to the series. They popped up for only 4 episodes, drew a bunch of stuff, and then
Right.
got completely redrawn. I mean, the whole goddamn animation Avengers assembled.
It's so weird. Like, I find it so strange, but at the same time, it saves some money, doesn't it? Like, they bring in these random production companies to just do like 4 episodes, but then after the fact, they have to do so much corrections. It's such a weird process to me, but if that's how it works, then that's how it works.
to correct their work. Yamamuro, Miyahara, Nakatsuru, and
damn.
heck, even Hakamada. They really just seem to exist to create a bit of breathing room for other sub-studios, and that's kind of it. I think what kind
Yeah.
of blows my mind is that despite the show clearly having the ability to throw chief supervisors at episodes to polish them up, this never ever happened for the people at Studio Last House. Uchiyama has long been a bit of a joke, but I often would be willing to overlook it because he had the likes of Notoshi Shida and Taichiro Ohara under
to help him out,
well,
right?
Shida's long gone at this point, as I noted last video, now doing kick-ass insane in-house stuff at Toei, but now Ohara's not producing anywhere near the level of work that he used to. I mean, how can he? It's literally just two people drawing one entire episode now. And Uchiyama's spending so much time redrawing Ohara's crazy-looking work. And well, fair play to him. It might not be good, but it at least turned Ohara moderately more Dragon Ball and less caveman. Unfortunately, it really just stands out so drastically against a crew that is basically the strongest it has ever been. The peaks are as high as ever, but now the valleys have dropped even lower, leading to some real what the fuck moments from episode to episode, a real downer given that they have the highest episode count of any studio of the show.
Whoa.
Mercifully, it's those highs that I think genuinely define this arc. Studio Cockpit's addition to the series in the Cell arc already produced an all-time classic of an episode, and as the team led by Masunaga head into the Buu arc, things only get stronger and stronger. Masunaga's style in the Cell arc was pretty awesome as is, but it didn't quite adhere to Dragon Ball's design principles. But in this arc, wow! His style completely evolves under these new designs, totally taking on board the fundamentals of Toriyama's style while still keeping things distinctly unique. All the girls are super extra cutie waifus here, and then the muscle dudes have me questioning their sexuality with the most next level shading you've ever seen. And then, boom! With the fight against Kid Buu in the Kaioshin realm, the Cockpit team power up like never before, animating arguably the best looking episode of the series.
I remember it looking
like Chisato Ikehira and the now One Piece famous Masayuki Sato. The episode does not stop moving. It is an assault of crazy, frenetic action with Pokemon legend Misaki Iwane continuing to blow minds with all kinds of twists and turns. And as the episode heads into its back half, it just keeps going with some of the finest Masunaga corrections the series has to offer. It is a proper powerhouse, and with it being the team's final episode of the series under Masunaga's lead, they sure went out with a bang. However, it's the director of this episode that I failed to mention so far, who also served as one of the biggest shakeups this series sees. Up until this arc, Daisuke Nishio had been the series director for all...
Do you know what I'd love? Just to throw it in. I'd love if Totally Not Mark would do... because I've just finished Black Clover. I'd love him to do Black Clover reviews of like where the anime got up to. You know, like he did One Piece where it was like up to the where the manga was at the time. Like, so do Black Clover up to where the anime ended. But do this, like every arc, cover what studios and who animated stuff, because there are some episodes of Black Clover that just absolutely blow my mind, and then some episodes are just like very basic, but then when the action kicks in, it's like bam, and it's just like, I'd love him to do this approach and like explain the ins and whys of who did stuff on it. It'd be cool if he did this same approach for Black Clover. That would be awesome.
Things Dragon Ball, and yet, as explored in the Cell video, an industry icon by the name of Shigeyasu Yamauchi has been slowly creeping up in popularity within the show. Having directed the first Broly movie to great success, my man Yamauchi was handled full creative control to the Dragon Ball series, taking over as series director for the Buu arc. Thankfully, leading the creative charge for the series as a whole didn't take away from his ability to direct episodes himself. And while I've already explored his strengths for powerful emotive direction through careful framing and interesting color work, his talent for highly choreographed action cannot be overlooked. For many, Tadayoshi Yamamura's work across the series has redefined martial arts combat, and when you take his work on this arc, which is already a complete cut above the rest, and then combine it with Yamauchi's action storyboarding, well, you get the iconic Goku versus Majin Vegeta fight that has sat for many as one of the coolest bouts in this series.
It is sick, such a good fight. Oh, it's so brutal as well.
This arc is legitimately full of some of the most incredible directors. Ueda and Kikuchi were two I highlighted last week, but what's kind of nuts is that a guy by the name of Osamu Kasai, who directed like 3 episodes of the Saiyan arc before vanishing into the ether, randomly came back for this arc and dropped some real bangers.
That's cool.
Segasha, taking on the animation side of things.
So wait, so he did 3 episodes of the Saiyan Saga, so the very first, and then just didn't do anything, and then popped up at the end. That's so cool.
Trade animation supervisory positions, but their work really under these new designs is a whole different level of polish. Where other studios' work is focused on the slower style of action that Yamauchi loves, the Seigasha gang are all about speed and scale. The fights they animate feel fucking huge and overwhelming in the best kind of way. And with people like Naoki Tate now fully evolved and kicking up some spectacular work on their own with little supervisory intervention, God, it's all so damn good. And what's kind of hilarious is that Kasai then went on to become the series director for Dragon Ball GT, and well...
no.
We all know how that turned out. But, putting all...
I've never seen that opening, okay.
Comedy aside, I think what's genuinely nice is that it highlights how Dragon Ball sticks with people. The Buu arc is a real culmination of a series whose staff continue to evolve with its story over the course of 7 years.
Yeah.
And a whole decade for many of those in senior positions. And that's really what I hoped to highlight with these production sections in these reviews. Dragon Ball is a journey for everyone involved. This was a formative show not just for the people watching, but for the ones who helped bring it to life. We've watched animators and directors go from fresh-faced newbies to helming the entire franchise. And it's something that rings true even 25 years following the series' conclusion. Yamamuro almost exclusively handled character designs for all things Dragon Ball until 2018.
Wow.
Takeo Ide became a teacher at the Toei School of Animation and served as chief supervisor on Dragon Ball Super. Shimanuki and Tate were both regular supervisors on that show. Shida and Kano have popped up time and again, and Nakatsuru continues to work his magic whenever he's given the opportunity.
Awesome.
Dragon Ball has never left these people, and the ones they've inspired have since joined their ranks in what is a truly beautiful full circle moment. The fan favorite animator Yuya Takahashi grew up watching the series, and now he's one of Dragon Ball's most beloved animators. Yamauchi's pupil Tatsuya Nagamine not only joined Dragon Ball Super as a series director, but then went on to direct the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, the very character his mentor helped bring to life over 20 years prior. These are only a few examples, and there are so many more. While you can throw fair criticism at its pacing and inconsistency at times, Dragon Ball's anime is so special. It's a real labor of love and artistry that has endured to this day. And
there's a lot in the background that, if you know, like, that's why I like watching these. You learn, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of love went into this. God damn.
I'm really glad to have taken the time to highlight it here. It was what got me and so many others into this series, and it really deserves this recognition. So thank you for taking the time to enjoy these little tributes with me, and now let's get back to the very source material that inspired it.
Hell yeah.
So he's definitely still stronger than the both of us, right?
And almost as dumb.
Any ideas?
Well, your oldest brat's still stronger, so where's he?
On Earth. So, Dad.
What the... Then who did you grab?
Hey.
Are you kidding me, Kakarot?
Dende, come on.
The magic man I get, but why that oaf?
Yeah, like, why? Why?
No, I can hear you.
I hope you can.
Look, I panicked and I grabbed the Dragon Balls, okay?
Oh, so that's how you see me.
Well, great. We have Dragon Balls. Now we just have to live long enough to use them.
Oh, come on. I'm sure we'll be...
I see you for more than your balls.
Your daughter's a man-stealing whore.
The Gohan thing. Just out of nowhere. Oh, bless you, Dende. That's so funny.
Just like her mother.
Brilliant. Oh, God. Oh. I'm going to grab a beer. Excuse me.
The final battle in Dragon Ball. Despite what I had to say earlier concerning the material leading up to and setting this final fight up, I very much enjoy what we get in the end. Despite
yeah, it is very cool. It is very cool. Vegeta trying to, like, buy him time to do the thing and everything is very, very cool. What was that? But, yeah, I don't know what that was.
Of pivots and uncertainties, we have finally landed on Toriyama's final, focused vision for an ending. And what he does with it, I think, works very, very well. And more than that, is a moment that, for many, acts as a symbol of inspiration. It's a battle that holds the very universe in the balance, one that pits the remnants of the Earth's inhabitants against the living embodiment of destruction, wrath, and fear. Like a natural disaster in physical form, of all the incarnations we've touched on in this arc, Kid Buu carves out for himself a truly unique niche.
Hell yeah.
No longer burdened by the ego of Super Buu or the naive sentimentality of Fat Buu, Kid Buu is what happens when you strip all humanity away from this Majin beast, leaving only death and destruction.
It made sense. Like, it made sense because, like, even like that, like you said, like that second Buu form had the quirkiness every now and then of doing stupid stuff that the big Buu would do. This guy, that's all been stripped away.
Behind to animate its unsettling figure. A fitting development for what has become a fiercely worsening circumstance, forcing the remaining heroes to grab what they can that's nearby and flee before Buu, without warning, destroys the entire Earth. The very home they stood upon guarding all throughout this story. Never before has the planet Goku has called home received such constant and horrific
decimated,
treatment. And now, for the first time in this series, a villain, the force of nature that is Kid Buu, has destroyed what was left of it. Forcing Goku and Vegeta, along with Mr. Satan and Dende, to travel to the world of the Kais in the hopes that...
And the dog.
That it might allow them time to regroup and formulate a strategy. Effectively, what we have here is a soft reset of sorts, of everything that's taken place from Vegeta turning Majin onwards. And honestly, this entire section feels like a natural extension of the character work following Vegeta's sacrifice. Goku and Vegeta are no longer fighting each other, they are working together to take down Buu. And what we have in Kid Buu is rather purposefully not so much a character as it is a symbolic entity.
It's just meant to be evil incarnate.
And embodied down to the approximate strength of Goku, despite what the anime would tell you, Kid Buu represents a couple things.
Thing is, not the strongest form. Like, I'm going there. Buu absorbed Gohan was the strongest form he had. Kid Buu was weaker, hence they didn't need to be fused to fight him.
Firstly, he represents the result of Goku and Vegeta's selfish actions at the beginning of the arc, the consequence of the series of dominoes they set up. And secondly, perhaps most importantly, he represents a distillation of what Goku has been searching for since his very first fight 30-some-odd volumes ago. A being of pure strength, stamina, endurance, and desire to fight. Kid Buu is essentially the result of if Goku went to the villain Build-A-Bear store. The perfect opponent for Goku to go all out against. And it's clear from the beginning that despite the dire circumstances, Goku is stoked at this opportunity, choosing to fight like a tournament match, as the Elder Kaioshin angrily puts it. Goku knows how important this fight is, not only for the fate of the universe, but for himself personally. And as they do begin to fight, it becomes even clearer how perfect these two are for each other. Both implementing wildly creative fighting techniques, trading blows equally, and being silly enough to bite each other.
Yeah, that's cool. This was always fun. It's like fun to see. It's like, what is going on? It's like the fun side of the fight.
Never has there been a more perfect matchup for Son Goku. And looking back, the circumstances of this one-on-one fight could easily feel contradictory to the personal growth that both Saiyans have undergone in this arc. Choosing that very tournament-style approach rather than taking the Potara and ending it all to save the universe in a flash. But once you dig a bit deeper, you can recognize the subversion being made here. And given the last-minute nature of it all, it's actually rather impressive and resonant. This isn't a decision made by Goku out of selfishness, but instead one where he's trying to protect Vegeta's feelings. All throughout the Cell arc and well into the Majin conflict, Goku demonstrated an ability to see right through Vegeta's thinly veiled bravado, ego-driven, boastful nature, and saw him for who he truly was. A man who didn't know who he was. A man that was lost. But in this...
a man on a journey figuring it out,
final battle, as a brilliant subversion, Vegeta takes Goku off guard instead by demonstrating a rather selfless and humble analysis of what's taking place. An analysis that feeds into a speech that crescendos Vegeta's role in this story. It's a recognition that Goku's always been stronger than him, always been better than him. And more than that, he accepts that right now, his greatest contributions can be offered as a valuable support to the greatest fighter under the heavens, Kakarot. It's an outstanding moment of character writing and moving sentimentality from the once belligerent and now at peace Saiyan Prince, no longer at war with himself, and finally the hero he was always capable of being. And this heroism isn't depicted through the fight, or rather beatdown, that Vegeta endures through...
Oh, mate, he does get beat the hell up, doesn't he?
the glorious conquest of this monster, but rather his ability to eat as much damage as he possibly can, thus allowing Goku the time to charge his Super Saiyan 3 state for one last flurry against this pure evil Buu. The entire sequence is made all the better by achieving something that is very hard to conjure in the world of Dragon Ball nowadays: the legitimate chance that Vegeta may die forever, stating that those
if he goes again, he's gone forever.
those
Jesus.
who die while already dead disappear forever, such that not even the Dragon Balls can revive them. It massively intensifies the sacrifice Vegeta is willing to make.
But he's still going. He's still doing it.
Here, and not to mention ratchets up the tension. The manga's interpretation of this is fantastic, and the anime adds to the distress of this battle by offering Vegeta a unique opportunity: the chance to deliver a traditionally egotistical Vegeta speech, but under totally antithetical circumstances. Instead of being on the offensive, Vegeta's on the back foot, no longer cowering in fear or scared stiff when confronted by a far superior fighter than he. Now the Saiyan Prince, through accepting himself for who he is, can stand in front of death incarnate, taunting and grinning the clock down until his final breath.
So cool. So sick.
Facing Oblivion with more bravery than any I've seen in this series. And man, it's some of my absolutely favorite material to come from Vegeta in the anime. However, despite stalling for more than enough time, Goku still hasn't rejoined the battle. Something is clearly very wrong. At this juncture, with Vegeta after being pummeled into the dirt and Goku now weaker than ever, surprisingly, the situation hasn't been more dire. There's no hero to save the day. Vegeta can't stop him, and Goku Super Saiyan 3
Yeah, this was a very interesting turn of events. This was so cool.
isn't viable in a living host. And presently, the only thing holding back Buu from killing Mr. Satan now is the residual fat Buu within him. And what's more is, Kid Buu knows it and spits him out.
Vegeta, I think I got an idea.
Is it you should have saved your son?
No, I think I have a plan to beat Buu.
Was it saving your son?
Just doubling down on that. He could have done this.
Listen! I'm gonna use the Spirit Bomb.
No!
Why? Give me one reason.
I'll give you 3. You used it on me, didn't work. You used it on Frieza, didn't
work.
And you didn't even bother using it on
On
Cell.
Cell.
But it will this time, though.
Fine. But if this doesn't work, I will kill you.
If this doesn't work, Buu will kill you.
And I will drag you to hell with me.
Deal.
Okay, so Fat Buu...
Amazing.
Kid
Team 4-star are brilliant.
Buu for a short period of time.
Oh.
Time to formulate a plan. And honestly, despite having some arguable contrivances, I kind of love the picture this plan paints for us watching and reading along. It feels
What
very much like
didn't
the
work against
combination
me.
of everything Goku's been through, the battles, the friendships, the ups and the downs. This next section is really rather beautiful. With their backs up against the wall, Goku at a loss as to what they can do next, and the time they have ticking by, Vegeta formulates a strategy. The Genki Dama. Kid Buu is a rather interesting variation of enemy like I mentioned, where all the enemies of Dragon Ball's past offered their own larger-than-life personalities defining their own arcs. This variation of Buu that Toriyama has chosen to land on for his big finale is less of a character insofar as it's not his personal decisions that makes him interesting, but instead it's what he offers the heroes of this tale that makes him compelling. He's horrifically dangerous, but calling him evil almost seems too limiting. In the same way we wouldn't call a hurricane evil, it's difficult to simply label Kid Buu as such. He's a living manifestation of wrath brought about by the corruption and inhumanity of others. And by being such, unlike Frieza, Vegeta, Piccolo, Cell, and all the other villains of Dragon Ball's past, he doesn't demand your attention. Instead, he simply acts dispassionately.
Right, okay.
When Super Buu was born after consuming the kinder Fat Buu, Toriyama wrote something in his narration that stuck with me.
Okay.
He said, quote, "Alas, sweetness stands little chance against concentrated wrath."
Right, yeah.
And this line stuck with me because this scene feels like Toriyama's answer to that very sentiment he expressed. As Goku throws his hands into the air, almost symbolic of his surrender to the present dire circumstances, he also throws into motion a certain poetic justice, a technique which represents kindness, sweetness, and purity. An
Everyone
attack made
coming
possible
together.
thanks to those that love and support Goku. An attack that can only work against beings with evil in their heart. And it seems like no other creature introduced in Dragon Ball's long and winding history is more befitting of being the target of this righteous move than the
Kid
monstrous Kid Buu.
Yeah.
However, before that part takes place, they need the requisite energy. Okay, so this plan is not without its contrivances. So it's brought to Goku's attention that the Namekians not only have the Dragon Balls gathered, but have also updated Purunga's powers to do exactly what Vegeta needs them to do in order to make good on the Genki Dama. He wants to resurrect all the good people who died during this arc's material. A virtuous wish, sure, but it's made on the back of unnecessary contrivances. Boy, aren't we lucky that this is now possible on the Namekian Dragon Balls. But the sentiment Vegeta expresses as the inspiration behind this plan is perfectly fitting for a final fight such as this, suggesting that Goku has saved the Earth enough and that just this once, they should be given the chance to try and save themselves.
Yeah.
I love this creative decision. It takes Goku's approach in wanting to give the younger generation a fair shot at dealing with Buu and offers that same opportunity to the people they have tried to save over the years. And this plan is all coming from Vegeta. It's such a great idea that offers the Vegeta character a fantastic platform to demonstrate how he's changed from a foreign entity wishing to destroy and enslave the world
To save.
one that now can call it home.
Yeah.
It also, however, offers him a chance to show that he still has that short temper. And again, this is a great creative choice, using his character to propel the conflict further in order to create tension. Vegeta's plan might have been a good one, but because of who he is, it doesn't work. And now, suddenly, our one and only chance has hit a significant roadblock. And what's more is, Fat Buu can't fight anymore. There's a wonderful thing that happens in storytelling when you combine expectation and rising tension. You start to relate to the present circumstances of the story, no matter how different their literal
Mark's so good at Mark and the editors are so good at having the narration, the music, and everything on screen just hitting right. This just, it's getting me in the feels.
Opponents might be to your own. Desperate to turn the tide in their favor, to save Vegeta, to save the Earth, to save the universe against this seemingly
So
unstoppable
tense.
wave of negativity and torment that is Majin Buu, Goku continues to hang on and amidst the chaos, asks for help. And the most beautiful part of it all is, warm and familiar voices answer his plea.
People of Earth, give me your energy!
Aw.
We need you!
Para la Genki Dama!
Goku, use toda a nossa força! Sabemos que você vai vencer!
¡Quiero que me den un poco de energía!
Gambarangai! Son Goku!
Vegeta gets such a beat down.
Non me ne importa niente di quello che succederà alla Terra!
I'm begging you! Please! Raise your palm to the sky!
When I first saw all of this unfold, I was just a little kid. A little kid that, like many others my age, suffered from bullying and a sense of isolation, a sense of desperation. And through watching this scene unfold before my eyes, as the allies and faces from Goku's travels unite together to offer help when all hope had been lost, for the first time in my life I experienced chills. It told me that no matter how bad things get, no matter how terrible the threat or how hopeless things might seem right now, if you keep pushing forward and ask for help in your darkest moments, there's always a chance someone out there can help you. And help can reside in the most unlikely of places.
Oh yeah. Cool, man. This is cool. Yeah, Mr. Saiyan is like, oh my god, it's Hercule! Ah!
Eso es! ¡Que llegue toda la energía!
C'est bien notre champion. C'est sûrement grâce à lui si on a pu revenir sur la Terre.
Underestimated you, Mr. Satan.
And boom!
Mr. Satan, the conniving, insecure liar that propped up during the Cell Saga, the man that represented everything that Goku and Piccolo weren't interested in modern martial arts, during this material has not only demonstrated that he can change, transforming into an altruistic hero, saving Vegeta, but in a showcase as uplifting as it is hilarious, proves that all the fame he garnered can in fact be used for good. And in this case, it quite literally saved the universe. Granting the Genki Dama the strength necessary to wipe this poison from the universe.
Gone.
But it's still not enough. This entire battle has been a struggle and a war all wrapped up into a stunningly exciting package. And to tell you the truth, at this point I was at a total loss as to how they could turn this all around. At every turn, Kid Buu has proven to be capable of taking everything head on and bouncing back from it like some sort of magical deranged bubblegum monster. Careful strategy, complicated plans, the support of billions. It still isn't enough, and that's when it happens. The perfect wish is made. Throughout this series, Goku and his friends have made increasingly complicated wishes on 2 sets of Dragon Balls. And impressive as it was to see these clever plans unfold before our eyes, in this moment, when expecting a complicated solution to a seemingly impossible problem, we're given possibly the most simple wish ever made in the series. Restore Goku to full power.
Hell yeah.
And as Buu staggers and struggles to hold back the combined effort of billions, Goku pauses, looks down, and
the way is,
quietly
I want
says,
you to come back is good.
You fought hard all by yourself. I hope you get reincarnated as a good guy so I can fight you one-on-one. I'll be training and waiting.
So sick.
And with that, and with one final push, Kid Buu is defeated.
Gone. And then oop!
The threat of Buu is no more.
Bye-bye.
What a culmination and payoff of everything. More than any other part of the story, this finish had all hands on deck and was coated with callbacks to Dragon Ball's past. Even small moments like Dende immediately agreeing to heal Vegeta, or Vegeta acquiescing to Goku's request to spare Fat Buu, a request he would never have agreed to before.
Guys, I need more energy. Someone talk to him. I'm busy bombing.
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, okay.
People of Earth.
Oh, this is gonna be great.
What the fuck? Put down your trash food, turn off your shit television, and get on with it! Matter for once in your meaningless, little, insignificant, worthless human lives!
You know what? Screw this. I'm taking my energy back.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
Vegeta!
It went smaller.
Oh, stop the cheating! You're making it worse!
Don't you verb me! Stop!
Don't you verb me?
You're doing it all wrong.
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is so good. This is gonna be great.
Let me take a swing at it.
Oh.
You think you can give a better speech than royalty?
Please.
Yes.
I've been conning these suckers for years. Oh, wait, they didn't hear that, did they?
No.
Good. Gotta keep that gas lit.
All right, mic's hot.
People of Earth!
Wait, is that Mr. Satan?
We love you,
Straight away.
Satan!
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan. Okay.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
I swear to God, I'd let that planet burn if it wasn't where I kept all my stuff.
Amazing.
What about your wife and kids?
I said my stuff!
Stuff.
Hey, problem. It's still not enough.
Hey, you should probably, you know.
Oh, all right. But only one hand.
Holy shit!
Popo. Go ahead, lad.
Touching celebrations and
Brilliant.
reunitings are had, activities
Oh,
that
that's
serve as a
great.
perfectly cheerful note to end any other story.
Oh.
But Akira Toriyama isn't just any other author. 10 years later.
すみません。
トランクス、よく来ただな。久しぶりでねえか。
Throughout Dragon Ball's long and winding road over the last 40 or so years, it's possessed more than its fair share of endings, canon or otherwise. For many, Dragon Ball GT's conclusion is a favorite, tying
Yeah.
everything we love
The
about
ending's
this
good.
series and its characters up in a beautifully nostalgic bomb of emotion and celebration. Dragon Ball Super even offered an ending that satisfied many at the time, and while the original ending has its detractors out there, for me, this is the most thematically appropriate ending out of all the ones we have. While Dragon Ball GT's ending is justifiably beloved in its own right, I'd argue it's an ending that doesn't feel as, quote, Dragon Ball as what this original version offered. Following this time skip, unlike many other stories with their own rich endings, this feels almost disarmingly familiar. In the same vein of fostering the next generation, we're reintroduced to everyone and get to see the directions they're all eager to pursue. We see where Gohan's interests are now, how Goten and Trunks have changed and developed their own individual personalities, what Pan is like in all of her adorable scrappy splendor.
Bless her.
It's all about defining that next generation.
Oh my, it's been so long! 10 years, right?
What are you talking about? I saw you barely over a year ago because of that Black Frieza nonsense.
Oh, right! Remember when I was black? Well, that was weird.
I dyed my hair for a bit.
And I stopped looking exactly like my
We've got a lot of super references thrown in here.
dad.
Was that before or after we met Broly?
Which one?
The good one.
Oh, after.
Huh, whatever happened to Beerus?
Wow.
He's napping again?
And then there was Jiren. Remember Jiren?
Oh my god, they're covering everything in Super. This is so good.
So did you guys ever beat Frieza?
Probably. Now let's take Pan to our first world tournament before GT ruins her.
For GT ruins it, indeed. Amazing.
And then everything changes from familiar to unfamiliar. The story hyper-focuses on Goku and the attention he has on this little unknown fighter in the tournament called Oob, whom we don't know anything about beyond the broad strokes of what Goku has already offered us. This is the part people have taken issue with, and to a certain extent, I can understand why. As an ending, it doesn't feel definitive or final in the slightest.
But
in fact, it almost feels unceremoniously sudden, if not
I
downright abrupt.
like that it wasn't
But I think
an actual
that's
ending.
the entire point of this ending.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball and the story of Goku is one that will live on long after we close this final page. It's this endless, magical adventure we've been given the chance to follow along with. One that evolves as Goku and his friends forge their own paths forward. And for me, as if to poetically bookend this series with the same philosophical outlook that helped to establish Goku in this story, this ending tells us that in the same way we should always anticipate someone stronger around the next corner, so too will there always be a new, enrapturing, magical and exciting Dragon Ball story for Goku and his friends to explore.
Yeah.
That while it is true that the end of Z isn't a definitive conclusion, it is an ending that reassures us that Dragon Ball will always be there.
I mean,
An
don't we
endless,
know it?
wonderful adventure that will continue far beyond the final page in all of our collective imaginations. And I think that's beautiful.
So you're saying you're only here because your family's poor and you need the money?
Yes, I spent all our remaining money on a plane ticket here. Please let me win or we are literally going to die.
What I'm hearing is, I need to abandon my life at home and spend the next couple of years training you how to punch well good.
My mother has not eaten in days.
Oh my god, Goku, no.
Mama?
Already on it. They will never know hardship again.
Okay.
Man, I'm glad all the people with money use it for good. Gohan?
I mean, it's so... Oh.
Chi-Chi? I know this is probably tough to hear, but...
Oh no, it's cool.
Have fun!
Really?
Of course, we've had you home for a decade now.
If anything, a little much.
Well, you heard him. Come on, Boo.
Oob.
Boob.
Boo.
Despite the amount of work having gone into this, it's important to me that folks don't look at this as some sort of definitive review of the series. You might recall the numerous multi-language visual montages within these videos, and of all the hours worth of analysis, those montages are, for me, stronger than any line I've written. For me, they show the scope of what Dragon Ball means across the world. That it's not just a story that means one thing to one person, but a far-reaching epic crossing cultures, language barriers, and indeed generations. Every single one of you out there has a unique point of view and experience with this tale that only you can breathe life into. I truly believe great works of art and beauty are in the eyes of their beholders.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
highlighting that fact was at the heart of this series.
You know, it's funny, I've been covering Dragon Ball animation for about a decade at this point. I first started on a tiny web forum, and then I covered Dragon Ball Super on YouTube, which maybe some of you watched. But what's kind of sick is that it's taken me all around the world, and I've been able to meet a load of amazing people throughout that time. One of those people being Mark. I did do a little bit of Dragon Ball Z coverage here and there back in the day, but I was mostly focused on Super. I never got the chance to tell Z's story in the way that I've been able to in this series, and it might not be a super in-depth deep dive that covers absolutely everyone involved, but I hope you at least got the sense that Dragon Ball's production kind of has its own special story.
It does, yeah.
alongside
I've
the
got that
actual
from
story
this,
of
yeah.
Dragon Ball. You know, it's a series that means so much to everyone attached to it, and who that includes just keeps growing with every new show. Shintani, Kubota, Takahashi, there are so many new people attached to this show. I really love that stuff, and I really hope that came through in my segments. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and of course thank you so much to the team for putting such an incredible series together. So many hours of work.
They've done
across
such
these
a good
past
job
few
editing
weeks,
this together.
but
It's incredible.
More than anything, I really hope you guys walk away from this with a feeling of just why this series means so much to so many.
Wow.
And over these past few months, working together with Mark and AJ to put together these colossal scripts, one thing has become even more clear to me, even if I already knew it from the beginning. That Dragon Ball, despite its unassuming nature, despite its reputation for simplicity, Dragon Ball is art.
Yeah.
It is a crowning achievement in the world of fiction, and its anime has been a host to a plethora of generational talent in terms of music, animation, direction, the works. Dragon Ball touches every corner of the planet, and that is for good reason. I hope throughout this series, we have been able to put into words even a fraction of that magic.
Like many of these talented people I got to work with, I too grew up with this magical series. Being able to collaborate as a team not only gave me the opportunity to relive the story that brought so much joy and happiness to many people around the world, but it also made me remember what caused me to fall in love with this series as well. Despite the many turns and twists this series has and continues to make over the years, I still love it as much as I did as a kid. And despite me working on the team for only a few months now, I'm truly honored that I was able to collaborate with Mark,
Editor,
AJ, Tyson, Trev, and the wonderful people over at Team 4-Star to create something like this.
It is cool.
Something that allowed us
These
to
been
truly
boss.
celebrate this wonderful mystical adventure that we all know and love as Dragon Ball.
Thanks for your support, and I hope you had fun with the whole series. Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS.
Once again, I hope you all enjoyed reliving this story with us. If you'd like to support this channel, feel free to subscribe right here on YouTube for more in-depth videos, or perhaps consider joining our Patreon where we have even more goodies and perks. But until then, this has been my team. I've been Mark Fitzpatrick, and we thank you so much for watching.
Wow. Feels weird that, like, that's it. They've been so much fun to watch. They've been so much fun to watch and check out. Like, wow. And the Team 4-Star bits just really added to it. Brilliant. Yeah. What's next? Like I said, though, I would really like Mark to do Black Clover and then do the whole animator bits as well, because I reckon there's an interesting story there. But wow, that's it. We've watched the final part of Mark's review of Dragon Ball Z, and yeah, interesting. Really, really good. Oh, I feel emotional. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month for the last channel. That's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for that. Thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, and leave comments below. Let me know how I should watch this in future videos. I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.